Welcome back to Oran Park Raceway. Apologies for a little bit of a technical hiccup, but we are green flag racing on the first lap, and Andrew Waring leads away over Nick Ottinger, managing to get that pole position back there after qualifying was over and into the first corner. Abramitis is in third with Travis Worling chasing him closely in fourth position. Schallener down in sixth, unfortunately not having a good start, but as they come around to finish lap one, the number 3 of Waring will lead Ottinger by about 0.4 of a second.
Yeah, it was a great start for Waring. Got the whole shot over Nick Ottinger, but then Christian Schallener did not get a good start either. We actually had some contact between Travis Worling and Nathan Dowd as well. And I see Vincent LaHerbie is in the pits, so I believe he's having he might have not fueled the car from his.
He's got a black flag.
Oh, black flag. That's awful. We've also had a wreck at the back. Looks like Dick Mueller's gone around, but he's pointed back in the right direction now.
As they come around Champion Curve and to the Yokohama Bridge, Waring still keeping the pressure on as there are many cars still side by side at the back of the field. My goodness, in fact, it is more than a Noah's Ark. It is a parade back there, DJ.
It really and truly is. Everybody just on top of each other trying to scrabble for those last positions that they can. We talked about early on in this race how just difficult it is to overtake. Riding on board now with Justin Morton as there's a little bit of a look this way and that. Ozzie Milwain right ahead of him.
Coming down the front stretch as they fly towards the sweeper, one of the trickiest braking zones in all of racing, especially in these cars. Let's see if he gives it a go. He's going to peek to the inside, but then decides against it as they all slide into Coca-Cola, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very tight race up there between everyone, but actually Christian Schallener's, there's a little bit of that gap between him and the drivers up ahead. Travis Worling up in fourth position with a little bit of a gap. Looks like Dick Mueller's gone around in the back of the field as well. And he's right in the middle of the track, Joe.
Ooh, yeah, he is indeed. Everybody's going to tiptoe their way around him. Thankfully, it's a very low-speed corner, and they were able to see him in the way, so he gets back rolling in the 710. But the thing that this will do is mean that he is now even farther behind, and it's not a very long lap, DJ. Lap traffic could quickly become an issue.
Very, very well could. Indeed, the leaders are already starting to look like they could be able to catch the back of the pack by the end of this race. Riding on board here with Ozzie Milwain in that Evolved Sim Sports car, trying to chase down Nathan Dowd as Andrew Waring, now Christian Schallener setting the fastest lap of the race.
And he's not caught up to the back of Travis Worling quite yet. He's still got some time to go in that 90 before he can really attack here as we check in behind him. This is on Ozzie Milwain, who is being chased by, this is Travis Worling that we're looking on board now with the 90 looking back at Christian Schallener. Now up into the front of him, that's Tom Abramitis in the bright red 27. Still sitting on the podium here today, but probably wants a little bit more than that. And I have to imagine Ottinger frustrated with himself for losing that critical track position in the very first lap.
Well, actually, that being said, he's tucked in behind Andrew Waring, which means that'll give him an opportunity to do a little bit of fuel saving. Considering the fastest way around this track in the Euro split was to do a no-stopper, this might actually be a good thing for Nick because he might be able to lift and coast a little bit at the end of this long straight once they go through the sweeper. So this might give him an actual opportunity to save some fuel, which might be what he needs to win this race.
They break into that first corner. It's getting awful close there between third and fourth. Travis Worling still breathing down the neck of Tom Abramitis as he takes that Holden deep into shell corner. Very slow hairpin that right-hander where things just start to ease up, and then suddenly you have to get back on the power, and it's a series of very swift, sweeping corners here after the bridge.
Yes, indeed it is, and none of them present a good overtaking opportunity as you look there. Christian Schallener starting to close into the back of Travis Worling. It looks like it just took him a couple of laps to really get acquainted with this car, fighting it under fire, and now he is back to his ways of trying to move up through the field.
Watching from the roof cam of Christian Schallener, he's definitely separated himself from Nathan Dowd, who's back in sixth place. You can see the gap here as he comes on the front stretch. Yeah, massive gap now, that black number 11. And as we hop on board once again, looking at the chase down into the sweeper, this is looking very close on the back end of Justin Morton, and as much as he gets up to that bumper, it looks like he's not able to catch up to Mill Wayne. This is Morton that we ride on board with, pardon me, the 9, as we get a little bit of a lockup down into Shell corner once again.
Absolutely, all these drivers doing their best job to try and navigate through this very complex. Look at this gaggle going on down in the back of the pack. This is very tight racing down there for around the 11th, 12th, and 13th positions that they're going over the Yokohama Bridge. So tight between all these drivers trying to navigate through there, but everyone's just trying to sort themselves out here from qualifying into their race paces. We got a lot of drivers who are trying to figure out what they're trying to do on their fuel strategy, trying to hit their numbers right now. And a lot of drivers starting to lock up those front tires a lot more on turn-in now, Joe.
Yeah, that was Justin Kirby who was given a go at Austin Espedy. And here's Travis Worling once again within about 1/10 of a second. But he decides not to attack. And that little side-by-side that we saw about a lap ago, DJ, I have a feeling we'll see some more of it because you really got to get your elbows out as Corbin. Oh, big wreck, unfortunately, for the 19 out of the dog leg.
He picked up Lynn Kinchlow as well, who's got major engine damage and is taken into the pits to get his fast repair.
So here's the incident. This is coming out of Momo and into the dog leg. It's a blind crest here. It's easy to go off and through the grass, and that's exactly what he did, DJ.
Yeah, just lost the rear end of the car, and then that major damage there sustained from Kinchlow, who was also off. It looks like he had the same problem, able to collect it a little bit better, but not able to get under any grip underneath him as he went over the grass like that.
Yeah, speaking of losing the back end, Ozzie Mill Wayne got into the grass on the outside of the Yokohama bridge, which is really hard to do, but managed to pull it off and clip the grass just a little bit. That sent him almost into a spin. He managed to recover, but he's all the way back to 9th position now for Ozzie, so unfortunately lost about 3 or 4 spots with that mistake.
You see him break down. Oh, and somebody going wide
Justin
there.
Morton.
That's going to lose him spots into 10th. It looks like he's gathered it back up, but he's now behind Kevin Hill and Ozzie Mill Wayne as well. More tire smoke as these tires just keep getting abused corner after corner.
Yeah, Joe, and one of the things that we were talking about before the broadcast is the fact that this may be a more of a tire limited race than a fuel limited race. These tires really, to go the full 46 laps, it's going to be very, very tough for them to do. So you're going to have to be very, very careful with them and minimize those lockups. You get too much of that, you are going to wear the tires way too early as, oh my goodness, that was Brian Halleck up to the inside of Daniel Johnson.
Brave stuff there coming up and over the Yokohama Bridge. And he started that attack actually 3 quarters ago. Halleck eventually getting through on Johnson, but it took some effort to try and make that one stick.
And Halleck's actually carrying a little bit of damage himself. So as we're riding on board with Andrew Ward, looking back at Ottinger, this group of 4, well, actually it's now 5 at the front of the field. Very, very tight nose to tail right now. So all of these guys are setting themselves up to be in contention for the win, barring disastrous fuel strategy from anyone. And this is Christian Schallener, who started on outside row 2. And he's been able to claw himself back up from about 1.5 seconds down from this group and is now right up with these guys.
But look at this train forming, starting to make me wonder if Waring is having issues trying to preserve the tires, or maybe a bit of fuel here, the way that it's just stacking everybody up and over the blind crest of O'Brien and into the final corner. Let's see who can get the power down off of here. Oh man, it is just a chain reaction, and that backs all the way up to Schallener. I think he wants to go for it. Look at the defense already coming from Worling.
Indeed, but here comes Christian. He's going to have a little bit of a look to the outside, down through the sweeper, tries to be later on the brakes into Coca-Cola, but I don't think that dog is going to hunt, and indeed, it is not going to be successful there for Schallener. He is not able to get the move done on Worling, although he keeps poking his nose this way and that, seeing if he can force a defensive line.
A great dive there from Worling to try and keep Schallener at bay, absolutely packing it into the sweeper and the Coca-Cola to keep Schallener from taking an advantage there. That was some good defensive work from Worling, and he didn't lock up his tires either. So great work on the brake bias lever to keep that thing moving.
Starting to get the sense this is going to be a matter of who will blink first amongst them. Who's going to make a mistake big enough that somebody's able to make a move. And if there's anybody else behind them and it's not the last two cars in line, again, I think it's just going to trickle its way down to the back of this group as they come once again onto the main straight. Nobody looks like they've got an advantage this time. Even still, another little look offline from Nick Ottinger, just showing himself in the mirrors of the three.
Yeah, just showing himself, and I think that's a lot of what this is going to be, Joe. We so often talk about the mental game of racing, trying to get into the head of the driver in front of you, and that's a lot of what it is, but don't look now, but the leaders are about to start coming on the first bit of traffic. That's Lynn Kinchlow right up the road from them, and this could be the first time for drivers like Ottinger, Abramitis, Worling, or Schallener to get a move on.
There's not many places to pull over and let people by either if you are lap traffic. And if you've got a train of five that are all vying hard for position, what the heck does Kinchlow do in this situation?
Yeah, and also blue flags are only advisory in the major series, so they don't have to move over, unlike in the V8 Supercar series where the drivers do usually move over. I'm not sure if it's required in the rules, but I know that it's a good gentlemanly thing to do to move over for the drivers in that pack. But man, this is going to be interesting, especially with how tight and twisty this circuit is.
Off that last corner, it looks like Andrew just has a little bit better grip on the rear tires as it just shoots away. And that's keeping him clear for the time being. Yeah, about a lap and a half it looks like, and they're going to be caught up to that first lapped car. Looks like Justin Morton lost another position as Brenton Foster just overtook him for the 10th position.
And it looks like there was an off in the back there for Rob Powers, who's had a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, this was heading through Foster's dip, I think. Actually happened even before Foster's dip. Looks like he lost the car in front of there and then didn't get back on until about 2 corners later. But he's rolling again. Let's take a look and see how this happened.
Yeah, you can see him. He just locks the right front a little bit and then continues that looseness all the way through underneath the bridge. And so he's absolutely loose there coming out of the corner, and there we see major damage on the back of Carter Cundinger's machine.
We got another, whoa! Ooh. That looks like he touched the grass or something, because that went around before he even turned the car in. I
mean, I know that Hollywood, stunt cars are supposed to do that, but I don't think your V8 Supercar is supposed to do that.
No, definitely not. And things starting to work out better for Warren as he pulls a tiny bit of a gap. Oh, that's very wide for Ottinger. Ottinger is slow. Here comes Abramitis. Does he dare? No. And that puts them even farther away from our leader. The number 3 has got the best thing that he could possibly ask for in this situation. Getting ready to lap traffic where he's likely to lose time, and now he's got some breathing space.
He does indeed, and remember that Ottinger and Abramitis are teammates, so there may be a little bit of inter-team communication between the two of them. As there you see Travis Worling being very, very aggressive coming up through Momo. He's got to be careful with that. You don't want to take too much of the grass, as we've seen what it can do. Schallener trying to take a little bit of a different line through Recaro, just seeing if there's a little bit something to be had.
Ooh, in the meantime, Travis Worling is going all the way down to the grass on the inside as Christian Schallener manages to get side by side into the braking zone. Wheel to wheel, they hit up Coca-Cola, and around the long way, Christian Schallener hangs tough. They almost bang doors as they both seek the power. Coming down the short straight into Shell, and this time he's got it done as it swings the other way. That is Christian Schallener now back into 4th.
Yeah, it's a great move from Schallener to get by Worling, and he definitely set that one up from a couple of corners before the last corner, so great drive from him. He was setting that one up all the way from the dog leg, so that was a great move from Christian to get this done. I'm looking at Tom Abramitis, and he's now actually managed to get back to the back of Ottinger, but that being said, he's got to get by Ottinger because Waring's starting to run away, especially putting a lap car between them. That's Lynn Kinchlow in the purple machine that's stuck behind these guys now.
Yeah, that UDOX car actually was in the way of Waring through the Yokohama Bridge and gave him a very awkward line. He's very lucky that it didn't go off course. What is Kinchlow? He doesn't let them by here on the main straight. That would have been a great opportunity to try and let this entire slide of cars through as they now ease their way through Coca-Cola. And this looks like he's pulling off to the side a bit. Is he going to let Ottinger through? Oh no, he starts to spin. Well, that's going to let all of them through, just barely to the inside, leaving enough of a gap that all 5 are now clear.
And Nick Ottinger going to be thanking his lucky stars. That was a very, very close near incident between himself and Lynn Kinchlow. So he is able to get ahead through and actually pull a little bit of a gap on Tom Abromaitis. Soon about 6/10.
We just had a big wreck between Nick Kuhn and Daniel B. Johnson. Those two got together into the braking for Coca-Cola.
And off into the gravel of that one. It's a common place to see cars wind up. Going too wide in there, I've done this many a time myself. Just unfortunately, it's hard to predict exactly where to place your car, and these two didn't quite pick right.
No, they did not, Joe, and that really came back to bite them. Jumping back up with Christian Schallener, now his next opponent up ahead of him, his teammate of Tom Abromaitis. You can see Schallener a lot better on the brakes.
Also got a bit of side-by-side between Kevin Hill and Brenton Foster. He overtook Morton before a few laps ago. Now he's gotten past Hill. So Foster is on a charge. He's still down 1 position from where he started this race. The 32 is trying to make up for that with some nice moves down into the first turn.
Yeah, he's a little bit out of place right now, but he is moving forward. The driver who's been really struggling right now has been Nathan Dowd, who's just up ahead of him. Nathan Dowd has been having some big issues as I see Nick Kuhn coming into the pits. This is an interesting assault.
I'm checking to see if he had any sort of incident that oh yes, he was involved in that incident with Johnson. So he had some damage that he had to repair, most likely, as we get a little bit side by side through the dog leg. That was brave stuff there. And that is Len Kinchlow trying to give way to Nathan Dowd, who he's not racing for position. I'm surprised he did not get caught up and passed by Foster in that, as that would have been a fantastic opportunity to try and take advantage. Foster's now past Kinchlow as well as they break through the sweeper. And boy, Kinchlow's just having a heck of a time trying to hold on to the car, not just let cars by.
Yeah, indeed he is. And oh, that same corner that he spun on that last lap, you can see the 44 getting very, very squirrely. That is going to allow for Hill on by Morton as well. We'll be able to slip around, and there goes Kinchlow around. Oh my goodness, that was Austin Espedy with his heart in his mouth.
I'm starting to wonder if Kinchlow's overheated those tires.
Yeah, all the V8 supercar drivers in real life say that you have to be constantly adjusting that brake bias lever in order to make sure that the car is handling the way you want to. And I think some of the drivers might be falling a little bit behind the 8-ball on that, because these huge machines, they're such heavy machines. They have a hard time slowing down quite quick enough, especially once you wear the tires out. So you do have to be adjusting the brake bias on pretty much every lap, at least, if not every turn.
Down into Coca-Cola, Schallener is still trying to see if he can pry a podium spot away from Abromaitis. Doesn't want to be losing the championship lead here. And Travis Warling is kind of hanging out behind them as well. It's the Mega Racing Team driver behind his teammate, watching him slide it through Yokohama Bridge and down towards Foster's Dip. Another blind corner through here as it weaves to the right and then back to the left. They're going to go by another lapped car. This is William Fletcher, who's allowed to get all of them through.
Yeah.
Oh. Big moment for Travis Warling and his UDOX car, and somehow held on to it, but it cost him a few tenths.
And guys, as you've been mentioning, Nick Ottinger is really closing that gap to Waring with the clear air they've got between Fletcher and Corbin. And so this is actually a good opportunity for Ottinger to finally put some pressure onto Waring if he wants to. Now, that being said, he could just be coming back up here to do a little bit of fuel saving, but if he wants to get past Waring, it seems like he's got the raw pace on him. It's just finding a place to get by.
You might notice that there's a blue car in third now. That's because Christian Schallener overtook Abramitis. I do think there was some team effort in there as he looked like he slowed on the straight once he knew he had a bad exit and didn't want to fight the 31. So now Christian has to work his way forward to see if he can challenge Ottinger and Waring, who have been on a pace of their own for much of this race, a distance of about 1.3 seconds to try and chase down.
Well, Joe, if anybody can get that distance down, it's going to be Christian Schallener here, the driver of the 31, always electric in whatever car you put him in, getting a good run there through Recaro, trying to see what he can do. He's already brought that gap down by about 1/10 of a second. It's now hovering at about 1.1 seconds.
Breaking into the corner, he gains yet more. Already has 3 championships in the majors under his belt, 2 in the Americas, 1 in the European region, and he's trying to make 3 Americas region championships this season. As he comes in leading the points. Oh, we got a bit of a battle coming off of Coca-Cola and under the bridge. That's Ozzie Milwane just trying to squeeze down down into Shell. Oh, as he spins the tires, somehow he still makes that pass stick.
Yeah, Milwane got very, very tight and locked up the fronts going into Coca-Cola. So as they went underneath the bridge and into Shell Corner, he was trying to squeeze Dowd out, managed to do so. But Dowd and Milwane have been duking it out here as Brenton Foster finally was able to navigate his way through. He's gonna have a long way to get up to Ethan Ozowski in 6th, though, about 4.5 seconds.
Guys, we are almost to noon virtual standard time. It is past 90 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface. It is heated up significantly since the start of this race.
Yeah, it certainly has, and that just means that these tires are going to get slicker and slicker and slicker. Pretty soon these guys are going to be sliding around on ice, and it's like I said, Joe, this is going to be a tire-limited race, I think, rather than a fuel-limited race. Drivers are going to have to be cognizant of that tire wear.
Now, some of that snap, some of the snaps that we've seen happen under braking is likely to do also with the sequential gearbox. These gearboxes are yes, they're sequential, but you do have to blip the throttle in order to get it to match revs, and that actually, if you don't do that the right way, if you mess it up, that's what can absolutely send the car around quite quickly, as we've seen in a couple of places. So there's just so much to contend with driving these supercars. It's honestly a finesse game, and also quite a bit of strength as well. But it's just beautiful to watch these guys tackle these cars.
Many years ago, I spent a season racing the V8 supercars, just looking for a different challenge. And I have to say, of all the cars that I've tried on the surface, these are by far, I think, the hardest to master and be even average in, let alone quick. And as we see them come around, the 0.3 of a second between Waring is about to be joined by Schallener, who is down to 0.5 of a second behind them. In fact, I think it's going to be closer than that in a couple corners.
Yeah, Schallener putting up a very, very good charge here. He does hold the fastest lap of the race, remember, so he's got a lot of speed pent up in that 31 machine, down to 0.5 here, and he's bringing along with him, or at least I thought he was. Tom Abramitis thought about bringing him along, but he is not at all. Abramitis falling down 1.2 seconds behind.
So I can see why they swapped around. Tom probably knew he was not going to be able to keep chase with Ottinger and Waring up to this stage. And we are just about at the halfway point, one more lap, and we are halfway through the first event of the night. Coming off the corner, much better exit for Nick Ottinger as he pulls away from Christian Schallener. As much as he keeps showing his nose down into that sweeper, we have yet to see him make a serious attack on Andrew Waring.
Oh, Abramitis way too deep into Coca-Cola. He's off track. That's going to lose him a lot of time.
Manages to keep it from spinning around, but like you said, he falls backwards and is now in 5th. Travis Warling inherits a spot. He's up to P4, and the podium positions continue to streak away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, indeed, they do. Running 1, 2, 3 there, only 0.8 of a second, separating your podium here, and really, really doing a good job. Whoa, things getting a little bit squirrely there in the back. That is Brenton Foster and Ozzie Milwane.
Ozzie's been in a lot of fun today. So is Brenton Foster, frankly, as they come down through Foster's dip and into Momo Corner. very swift left-hander comes over a crest. You can see the cars slide all the way out to that curb and then over the O'Brien dogleg and breaking down into Recaro. This is looking close for Milwain if he can just get the launch off the corner. And looks like it is decent, but I'm not sure if that is enough.
That was not going to be enough, unfortunately, so he's going to have to hang out behind for at least one more turn. I see that we've had one of our first regular stoppers, I believe. That's going to be William Fletcher going into the pits for some fuel. Most drivers are going to be taking one stop this race, but the quickest way around is with no stops, so I'll be interested to see who tries that. It usually is a real challenge for these drivers, but we've seen it work in the European region. So that's why we're keeping our eyes on that. The top three, though, is right up over with Christian Schallener, absolutely flying out there, setting mid 106s right now. So they're about a full second off of their starting, off of their fastest lap times, but still setting decent pace right now.
Approaching another one of our lapped cars, Scott Corbin. We saw a flash of up the road. Nick Ottinger, who gets onto the binders in that number 25, now sees Christian Schallener just behind him. Will he also let him through if he finds him getting a good enough run, or is he committed to try and attack for the win here? As heard some mention from Justin Kirby, trying to figure out what's going on with him here. I think he was letting by Dick Mueller there. Yeah, Dick Mueller gets him to 27th with that one. Up and over the Yokohama Bridge and down into Foster's Dip. Here they come. Scott Corbin is right in front of him. Will this one play a factor this time?
Well, we'll have to see. They're going to catch him at a tough point, but there you see him sticking on the racing line. The big problem there you can see with Corbin, he doesn't have that rear wing. That's going to be costing him a lot of time. They go through Recaro. That's going to be a little bit of a checkup for Waring, I think, in the middle of the corner.
But Corbin sees the writing on the wall. He pulls off to the left-hand side. Nicely done. All four of them are through. Is it just me, or is Travis Warling actually starting to catch up to them as well?
Oh yeah, he's right there. This is now a four-car fight for that lead of the race, so this is going to be a really, really exciting battle for sure. Scott Corbin now separating Travis Warling and Tom Abramitis, so Abramitis has fallen off of this group by about 3 seconds. But yeah, absolutely a four-car fight, but Ottinger putting the most pressure on he has right now, and he's absolutely trying to get up to that rear bumper of Warren.
Watching him with his VR headset on here, taking a lot of curb. That's always one of the things, DJ, that I felt like made me really uncomfortable in these cars. Is it seems like you have to be aggressive on those curbs, but man, they bounce around a lot.
Yeah, very, very stiff suspension on these machines. It's not really like you're driving a GT3 machine that can have a little bit more of a softer suspension. The best way to get them going is to get a really, really stiff spring setup. And so you've got to be really aggressive on the curves as they are, but it will bounce you around, and you've just got to kind of be prepared for how the car is going to respond to it, how it's going to bounce this way and that.
As we come back to Justin Morton, who's looking very close. Oh, but he starts to lose out a little bit on acceleration to Kevin Hill in front of him. You know, I noticed this a bit earlier. The Forge Racing team, such as Justin, have paid a little homage, I think, to the Australian scenery. If we can look, yeah, they've turned things upside down on the car. So very well done, sirs. Nice nod.
Yeah, I mean, that way they can read it, right?
Yeah.
But, no, it's definitely a good design. For sure, a nice homage to where we're racing. But that being said, I really do hope that that these Australian and New Zealand racetracks will not be, you know, the odd ones out for long, because so many of the tracks, you know, down here is just such an amazing place to race, and this V8 Supercar Series is an amazing race series, as well as the super trucks as well. Those are really fun. I hope we get to see some more truck racing on paved road courses as well in the future.
I think they call them utes down there, don't they?
believe they do, yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm thinking of the stadium super trucks, but
oh, okay.
I would love to see Utes in iRacing for sure.
Yeah, as we continue to watch the battle between the top four. I got to give credit to Andrew Warren because he's been dealing with this pressure extremely well. He's already had to lap multiple cars, some of which not making life easy for him, and he still has not given this lead away. A lesser driver would have buckled before now as he goes a little wide there through Foster's dip. And Andrew came into this race third in the points. So depending on where Christian Schallener winds up on the track, we could see Warren manage to take that lead away in the championship. Ozzie Milwayne, who was second in the points, currently down in eighth.
Lots of traffic here, DJ, and this is just the first race of two, remember.
Indeed, it is. Drivers getting out of the way there. That's Wayne Hutchinson clearing the way for all four of your leaders. The next driver they're going to come up upon, that looks to be Daniel Johnson in the number 10 machine. Not going to be exactly catching him at a great point. I think they may actually catch him going through Foster's dip, which is about the last point you want to be seeing lap traffic.
It really is. So where is Daniel Johnson going to go? Is he going to try and get to the inside here and slow up? No, not going to do it there. And now they have definitely caught him, so these next few corners are going to be compromised. And unfortunately, whoa, he absolutely sends it in. Daniel sees him coming, gives him space down at the apex. Wow, brave stuff from Andrew Warren, and trust that Daniel Johnson knew what was going on.
Daniel's a pretty wise racer, so he saw that coming and absolutely backed out of it. But this actually gave a nice advantage to Christian Schallener coming through the dogleg. But unfortunately, he couldn't make it pay off here on the front straightaway. So it's still as you were with these front four, with Andrew Warren in the lead, Nick Ottinger in second, Christian Schallener third, and Travis Warling in fourth. We have had a decent amount of drivers come in and do some stops for fuel. Vincent Leherbier is the most forward driver on track who has stopped so far, and he's in 21st position.
Actually a bit surprised we haven't had any specialists come in like we do sometimes with the more unique cars or tracks. But I'm guessing,
I would expect them in the international.
And, yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Is I'm guessing they all showed up over on the time zone that's more suitable for them. Breaking down into Shell once again, as this is the chase between Morton, Hill, and Espedy in 10th position. Highest driver to have pitted right now is Vincent Leherbier in the 21st spot, well behind this group. And we'll see if any of them will elect to try and come in, or if most of them have decided that no-stop strategy is the way to go. Back to Warling once again. And he is still hovering just around the back of Christian Schallener.
Yeah, just loitering back behind there. I do have to say, I like this approach from Warling. I'm getting the sense that he's not really overcooking the tires at all, like I think that was Nick Ottinger doing, locking up there, going down through Coca-Cola. Warling just being kind of preservationist in the way that he's driving, just holding on here to see where the race is going to lead him.
And Ottinger, for the first time, looked like he was actually trying something, and at a different corner. That was down at his shell that we saw him poke his nose, but then didn't actually make the pass. So I wonder if he's decided enough is enough. Let's start making it happen here. And Warren is, as that time it was Ottinger who had a bit of a mistake down through Momo. Warren's looking for his fourth ever win in the Majors Series. They do count each race as individual wins in the stats page for these.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is that Ottinger hasn't put his nose out, but he's been poking his nose out like here, where he has a disadvantage on speed. So it's interesting because that's not gonna, Andrew Warren's not gonna feel threatened by that. It's gonna make him look in his mirrors, yeah, but he's not gonna feel super threatened. Now, Christian Schallener had a decent run that time as they were diving into Coca-Cola, but he didn't really have time to make do with that either. But Ottinger, he keeps poking out like this, but Andrew Warren, I don't think he feels threatened right now because Ottinger has not been able to get him on exit, and that's a big mistake.
Thankfully holds it well, but yeah, I still stick by what I was saying earlier, that I think he's trying some stuff now, and he's pushing. Maybe he's pushing a little too hard. And Espedy, I see, is also in pit lane. Was that to damage, or is this a scheduled stop?
I believe it's a scheduled stop. I think it's his first. This is our first driver out of the top 10, isn't it, DJ?
Yes, it is. And I was going to say, this is about the point when I would definitely think about it. Yeah, there you can see him coming down off the jacks. That is a scheduled stop for Austin Espedy.
Fresh tires, that should make him very quick out of pit lane. We'll see how many positions that will garner him as he will return in 21st. And where's our leaders? Our leaders are actually just coming up behind him now. In fact, they've got one more lapped car ahead of them, McGreevy, and then it's Espedy. And that's how close they are. There you see them heading into Shell once more. We still have 31 of our 32 starters out on the track. Rob Power's the only one that has parked it, taking some repairs, and we're not sure if he's able to return in these remaining 14 laps.
Yeah, flying formation are these first 4 drivers, just like the Blue Angels on their first show season, show weekend this past weekend. Congratulations, Blues, and good luck on the rest of the season. But yeah, these guys so close, nose to tail, and Brian McGreevy really struggling to keep the front tires into that thing very tight as he's going through these corners.
Ooh, this could trip them up once again. McGreevy's gonna just take the racing line as almost pushing him through the corner. Whoa, around the outside.
No!
Just enough space, some contact. McGreevy thankfully saw it the last moment and gave enough space. That had to have been a heart attack for Andrew.
Oh my goodness gracious, an absolute heart attack for everybody involved there. I am incredibly impressed with all of these drivers that they didn't come together. Let's check out the replay.
I just swear they made contact out there.
They absolutely did. There was contact between those two, and I just don't understand why McGreevy stuck it out. Maybe did he not realize that Andrew was alongside him?
I don't think he expected him to go to the right-hand side. Yeah.
I didn't either, but I mean, man.
And thankfully everybody's through, but this did cost Travis Warling, ironically, the other UDOX car in that situation, through the sweeper as he had to lift early with that side-by-side. In the meantime, through the dog leg once again. Last time Ottinger was almost to the bumper of him through this corner, and again, mid-corner, he's so strong. It's here that he needs to be quicker, and you mentioned it before, it seems like in a straight line, he doesn't have the grunt. Warring just starts to run away.
It really and truly does, Joe, and I don't think it's a matter of getting the right launch off the corner. It just looks like maybe they're set up a little bit differently. Maybe Warring's running just a hair less downforce around here, and that's able to get him just a little bit better of a straight line speed. It certainly would explain a lot of the brake lockups that we've seen out of that number 3 machine.
Looking at Espedy here real quick because I wanted to check his lap times. He's about 2 seconds quicker than the drivers around him that have not pitted.
And we got a big bottle up going on with Ozzie Milway, Nathan Down, and Justin Morton as they're tucked in behind Scott Corbin, who's struggling to drive. Look at the traffic jam.
And down to the inside, Milwayne under attack. He's going to lose 2 of them. Morton and Dowd both managing to sneak by.
And Milwayne is missing a hood, so some pretty heavy damage there. I think that may have been contact with Scott Corbin.
Oh, yeah, I think that was coming out of Coca-Cola. I think Corbin tried to go slow, and what he thought was off the racing line, but it was a little too early out of the corner, and that, unfortunately, checked them all up. Meanwhile, Ottinger is familiar with the chrome horn, having raced in the eNASCAR series before. Will he try and use it to move Warring out of the way? He's been...
Yeah, I mean, he absolutely could, but I know that the Major Series doesn't look too happily on that. That being said, there is a little bit more leeway due to the nature of the sports car or the sports car Grand Touring V8 supercar styles of racing, where contact is more expected. Look at how good of a run he's getting off of Momo. This is a great opportunity. If he can make it work through Recaro, this could be his best shot yet.
I almost wonder if he needs to try and surprise him into Recaro, because he's pretty good on the brakes. This time he's bad off the corner, and Warring's going to skitter away. Yeah, I feel like he's just going to have to sucker him into a sense of safety and then attack when he isn't expecting it into that final turn.
Oh, Brett Kirby's had an issue.
takes a
This
toe
was a
into
weird
pit
one.
lane.
Yeah, I think he just spun it up off the corner and ends up in the tire barrier.
Yeah, one of the unfortunate factors of racing with a crossover means that, as you'll see, when he gets on the power, there's got to be a wall somewhere as the track narrows up to allow the bridge over it, and he found it.
Yeah, very much did find it there. A big hit into the wall, and there the immediate toe from him, so that's going to send him right back into pit lane, unfortunately. So check back in on these leaders. Does look like they've been able to drop Travis Warling just a little bit.
Yeah, he's starting to fall back away once again. And apologies, I forgot that even though he doesn't have a black stripe here on the roadside, which is what they've got the licenses showing, Nick is actually a current eNASCAR race driver. So he's just not able to display it here, though he does have a A-class license, and that car is squirming back and forth. He knows he only needs these tires for 9 more laps. I think he's using up the last of them, just hoping that something will stick.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've seen, it's Ethan Ozowski actually decides he's going to come in. So that's a
very
little bit of
late.
a surprise. Yeah, that's very, very late. This is only with 8 laps to go. That's a late pit stop for him. So he couldn't make it the full, one stopper. So 10.4 seconds on fuel. That's a lot of fuel, Joe.
I wonder if that's more tires than anything. If he's going to give up the time, I guess he figures might as well try and take some fresh ones and see where that gets him in the end. He actually is our highest driver to have pitted now, for what it's worth. And behind him, as far as other pitters, those next two were swapping. Leherbier just gave way to Espedy for 19th position.
Indeed, he did. So a little bit of swapping around. Some more brake lockups from in front of our drivers. I think that was actually coming from Espedy and Leherbier down into the first corner.
Yeah, our leaders are now going to be lapping those within the top 20 here. That tells you just how fast the laps go by. Back with Christian Schallener. Even if Christian can't make it any higher than this, this still has to be counted as a positive, considering the fact he was able to go from 4th to 3rd. But again, championship-wise, one of his rivals now gets a leg up on him.
Yeah, and also he wants to get at least one more position before the end of this race, because then he'll start on the front row, which is really important to having the possibility of winning this race. Remember, Waring and Ottinger were our front row starters for the beginning of this race, as Ottinger almost got into the back of Waring coming off of the final corner. But yeah, I mean, the front row seems to be vital in order to have an opportunity to win.
Boy, Waring really pulled a fast one here, though. We were expecting that pole position to be the utmost of importance to the victory. And we did also think that it was simply being in front, but I don't think I expected that 3 to be able to jump forward like that.
Ottinger, DJ, he's all over the place. That trying to get rear traction down for Ottinger seems like a real hard chore right now, and they've got a lot of traffic up ahead of them right now.
Yeah, they do. Kinchlow, Leherbier, Espedy, a lot of drivers, and that is going to be very, very difficult. You can see more plumes of brake smoke. I wonder if Ottinger has maybe just overcooked his rear tires a little bit more. Woo, big wiggle there for Waring as he tries to get around the leaders.
That was
This is Christian's chance, Joe.
Oh, no! Oh, did he touch him?
Yeah, he did, but barely.
He almost took out Travis Warling as well, one of his unorthodox teammates. And that just caused all sorts of issues up at the front. Let's take another look at that one. There's about 3 close calls in one.
Wow, really, truly, my goodness gracious. Just look at all the wiggling first off, and Adam. Oh.
I think everybody needs a change of pants after that one. Watch this happen. You do not want to see that coming towards you.
I think he sustained just a little bit of damage on the left front. And then for Travis Warling, he was able to get away without being contacted, but he had to go out into the marbles, and that cost him so much time. He's now a full 2 seconds back. Ottinger, after the lap traffic, half a second between himself and Andrew Warren, but it's not over yet. They've now got Brian Barnes and Austin Espedy in front of them.
I'm trying to take a look on board with Christian to see whether or not that knocked his toe out, and it looks like it might have a little bit for Christian. So unfortunately for him, yeah, it looks like he's a little, yeah, he's absolutely not steering that car in a straight line necessarily. So he's got a little bit of drift on that front suspension now.
It tells you the skills that these top four are showing. Whoa, and a breaking a little bit of deep, getting into the back of him. It looks like Ottinger maybe outbraked himself, and he's going to give a bump to the number 3, but they managed to get away with it. I was going to say Waring just ran a 106.4 last lap, and a driver on fresher tires, only 9 laps old, Austin Espedy, is running a 107, so he's still being caught by them, even though their laps are about 30 laps older, or their tires are 30 laps older.
That just goes to show you the outright speed from these drivers, Joe. Absolutely incredible stuff from this leading pair. And Waring just feeling the pressure from Ottinger. He looked so close coming out of Foster's dip there as they make their way through Momo and through the dog legs. So very close, trying to get around there. Brian Barnes getting in the middle of everything.
Oh, and that cost Nick Ottinger. Does Christian Schallener maybe try an attack here as he follows him down towards the sweeper? No, he is going to give a lift. And I don't know if Andrew has a spotter out there, but he doesn't necessarily know why Ottinger came up and hit him. He doesn't know if he outbraked himself or if he actually was that close to him.
Yeah, but I mean, look how close they are right now, the three of them. Christian Schallener has absolutely adapted to the way that car is driving now and is right back on the rear bumper of Ottinger. These three are inseparable now as we're in the final 4 laps of this race. Absolutely amazing driving from the top 3.
We got to remember that as he goes a little bit wide there coming through Foster's dip, that this will set the grid for the second race. So DJ, if you're in Ottinger's shoes, how important is that win? Does he try and get it away, or does he risk it with a low percentage move, or does he just kind of accept that, okay, better to start on the front row here?
I would have to say he would just try to hold it where he is at this point. It's half points, remember, to be able to get it. He would love to be able to take the win away, but at the same time, remember, he started off in pole, and it was Waring that started off to his outside, and he was able to get the move done. So if he's able to come home here in second position, those half points, and get what he needs to, that's what it is. But Waring having a big lockup.
And now actually to his inside on one of the corners is once again smoking the tires. Ottinger knows he's got him on the ropes. The 3 is making mistakes, and that's the first time we've really been seeing major ones come out of him. The 25 is showing his nose on it. He keeps trying to get to the inside as well as giving little taps to that rear bumper, letting him know he's there. And now more lap traffic in front of him. This time, Austin Espedy.
Waring wrestling the car under braking, Ottinger wrestling the car under acceleration, and Schallener just trying to figure out how he's supposed to get by both of these guys as they're stuck together nose to tail. Ottinger almost hitting the outside wall coming out of Recaro. Now they're approaching 2 lap cars. This is Austin Espedy, Nick Kuhn, and they got Ray Partridge up ahead. This is a whole gaggle of lapped cars they're going to have to navigate in these final 2 laps. And Nick Ottinger almost gets into the back of Waring again.
2 laps to go. Second half of the lap looks to be the strong suit of Andrew Waring as he was able to pull away. But here is where he's been under attack, getting underneath him once again. Nick Ottinger, next time I don't think he's going to be quite as nice. Will he be able to move him aside as he once again shoves him through the champion curve? Here comes that lap traffic.
Here it comes indeed. Espedy, Kuhn, Partridge right up ahead of him. This is where this is going to get hairy. They're catching him at the bad part of the track again. It looks like Ottinger has a little bit of a run, but a little bit of a slide.
Oh, thought maybe he could be sneaky, but it shut the door at the last moment, and that might have been critical because here he's going to get slowed up as he now has to go to the inside of all those lap drivers. Kuhn is pulling out of the way. They all know this is a battle for the lead. They're trying to pull off to the side. That's Ray Partridge who's trying to let them through as well. and I think that's Jeff Schmeier. He's going to stay off to the side, but he's going to be slightly in the way of Christian Schallener. Thankfully, does not get into a wreck with them. Down to the inside. This is where he's been strong, but he slips up. That was a big mistake coming off of Nick Ottinger, making him vulnerable to Christian Schallener now, but Schallener does not take the invite. He'll stay behind, slipping up the tires. Oh, there goes Ottinger. Inside into the grass goes Christian Schallener. He catches the car just in time, but he does not get the position.
I think that's the breathing room that Waring needs, so he should be fine to go off and win this race so long as he doesn't make a big mistake. It should be the breathing room that Ottinger needs to take over second position. But my goodness, that was close between Ottinger and Schallener just a little bit too hard on the brakes, kept it locked up a little bit too long, couldn't get it turned in. Unfortunately for him, that's his last shot at second.
The kettle sat on the heat for as long as it could until it boiled over. And it came out in favor of Andrew Waring in race 1 of tonight. The Sandown 240 sees the first event given to Andrew Waring. Ottinger is second, and Christian Schallener rounds out the podium. What a final lap that was.
Absolutely insane, Joe. You can see the tenacity and the respect out of all of those drivers not getting into each other. That takes a lot of skill to be able to pull that off just right.
And Waring is celebrating. He is beside himself, just ecstatic after that one. Last few drivers coming through, as only 14 of them will finish on the lead lap. But it looks like, as we take a glance at our finishing results, that Andrew Waring will get the half points for the win, and Ottinger will finish in second. It's Christian Schallener taking P3 and Travis Warling in the 4th spot. Tom Abromaitis, who was quick at the start, made a mistake, eventually had to give it up, fall down to 5th. Britton Foster from 8th up to 6th, and that's with falling all the way down to 11th or 12th at one point. Justin Morton was P7. From there, you've got Nathan Dowd in P8, Kevin Hill in 9th, and Ozzie Milwane in 10th, DJ.
In 11th, it was Ethan Nazowski, followed by Brian Halleck with Mark Stevenson and Justin Kirby. Carter Cundinger coming in behind them in 15th with Austin Espedy and Vincent LaHerbier. Cundinger, the first car, a lap down. Jeff Schmeier was 18th, followed by Brian Barnes with Joey Haynes in 20th.
And then we've got Daniel B. Johnson in 21st with Wayne Hutchison 22nd, Dick Mueller down in 23rd position, and Brian McGreevy in 24th. Ray Partridge in 25th, the first car 2 laps down, with Nick Kuhn in 26th, Scott Corbin 27th, William Fletcher in 28th position, with Jason Wallet in 29th, and Brent Kirby in 30th spot. The first car 3 laps down, with Lynn Kinchlow as well, 3 laps down, and then Rob Powers, unfortunately, was our only DNF, 21 laps down.
That'll take us here to a brief respite where they've got a 10-minute warm-up before the next race. We want to take that time to, of course, mention our sponsor, the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. Also, if you use our special discount code MajorsGSRC, you'll get 10% off. And as always, the Majors has a charity for this round. This time out, appropriately, it is Deaf Australia, which is a deaf-led advocacy and information organization in Australia representing all deaf, hard of hearing people and others who use Australian Sign Language as their language of preference. To find out more, check out our link in the description below. Well, that one was interesting. It seemed like, yes, track position was important, Adam, but you got to have the stones to be able to hold on to that track position.
Yeah, and absolutely. Andrew Waring proved that he did. I mean, and that just goes to show, once again, the importance of those first 2 starting positions. So, oh my goodness, what a race that was.
And it looks like we have one of our podium finishers ready to talk to us, Christian Schallener. So as we pull him in during this little warm-up period, Christian, congratulations on a podium, up 1 spot from where you started. But that final lap, talk to us about what was going down there.
Well, I was pretty convinced that Nick was going to be able to pass Andrew if he just, got a good opportunity of it. But instead, it ended up with I think, I can't even really remember what happened. Didn't Nick, locked up in a 1 or something? Then I was near him coming at 2. he kicked it well sideways, and I was like, I'm going on the outside. And then I did the thing that I've kept doing in practice the whole time, which is dipping left sides on the grass. And it was horrible, man. I was like, I heard the rears lock up and the RPM just dropped down, and I was like, oh, I'm dead. I just think I just got extremely lucky there that I sort of slid sideways. I didn't like spin or anything like that. And that walling was too far back to really do anything about it, because otherwise, like, you know, if I'd have been the leader in that situation, I would have easily lost 2 spots right off the bat. But yeah, it took a bit to get going, that's for sure. But when it did, it was a lot of fun.
we made the same observation. You've also got 3rd now on this start compared to your 4th place the last time. Do you feel like that'll make much of a difference, especially since we did see the pole sitter lose that lead at the start last time?
I started 4th, did I? It felt like I started about 8th by the time I'd actually got rolling. That was probably one of the worst race starts I think I've ever made. I think the only one that comes close is probably 2018 in this series when we did Suzuka in the McLaren Formula 1 car. That's the only time I can remember getting a worse getaway from the grid. So, luckily, it felt like it didn't actually make that much of a difference. I don't want to say it helped me, because it totally didn't, because I had to pass cars, but I felt like, in a way, it meant that, like, I felt like I could only really recover, if you know what I mean, and go forwards. I wasn't worried I was going to lose spots while I was trying to save fuel or anything like that. I was just focused on, okay, I've screwed up. How do I undo my screw up? And yeah, we got pretty close to actually really undoing it. I think if Nick wasn't my teammate, there's a couple of opportunities where I could have just, you know, sent it on him and just been really robust with the pass, and then I would have had a shot at the win. I felt like I actually had pace at the end, which I was, to be honest, pretty surprised about, because I wasn't really that confident pace-wise coming in. Got a good qualifying lap, not 100% sure how, because I ran that lap, and then every subsequent attempt was 3 to 4 tenths slower. So it was almost like by taking it really easily, trying to get that banker lap in, it helped, and then that's how I drove in the race. And that seemed to be the way to do it. I'm losing out kind of the last 2, well, it's not the last corner, it's that S-bend before. I don't really have the confidence to throw the car far left and then pull it back across. So I'm losing out a bit there, but it doesn't look like it matters too much, because I can get out of the last corner pretty good.
Well, congratulations on that 3rd, and yeah, apologies, all the excitement, I forgot you actually did start 3rd. So best of luck heading into the next race, and we'll keep an eye out for you.
Thank you.
Well, we had Andrew Warren ready to talk to us, but it looks like he has scampered off. I wonder if he has some warm-up that he wants to do. We'll see if he comes back real quick to just give us a chat before we head off to the next race. Again, no qualifying, as the grid is going to be set by the results of the first race. It looks like temperature has kind of stationaried. I don't know what I'm saying. Has stayed put, let's say, for the time being, DJ, because it's now only 92 degrees Fahrenheit. It looks like we do have Andrew Warren back with us. So let's hand off to DJ Clark with our winner from the first round.
Andrew, a stalwart defense out there for you to take the victory. That has got to feel good.
Yeah, I mean, got a great start, which was ideal, because once I was out there, I could kind of control the pace. To be fair, I didn't expect them to be that close. I thought my long run pace would have been enough to pull away at the end, but I got to work on some tire wear, I guess.
Well, I was going to ask you how much of a factor that was really playing into your pace, and thinking about that, were you just starting to fall off the cliff there at the end?
It's more a combination of, probably that's the first time we have done 46 laps on a set of tires. We were going to originally go with the one stop, but then watched the European round this morning, and we've had to scamper, so I'll make some adjustments personally, probably in the second heat. That should improve it.
All right, well, we talked to Christian there about that last lap, and it was pretty crazy for him. I've got to imagine it was pretty crazy for you as well behind the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, I was saving up every lap to the very last one, so I could really defend and just give it 100% on the last lap. And I thought the car wouldn't have held, but it was holding pretty good. And I saw that I think it was Christian did a lunge into Nick, and then once I saw that, it was there's not even a point of pushing anymore. I might as well just bring it home. So.
Well, it clearly paid out for you. Any outside of those changes, anything you want to change here going into this final race?
I definitely like to see some of the Evolve guys up there. I know they had some underwhelming qualifying and starts, but they all have the pace, and it's tough to race against Christian and his teammates there. And I think race 2 we'll see Tom rejoin that top group again, so it's going to be difficult.
Well, difficult, but if it's anything like that first race, I can't wait to see it. Anybody you want to quickly thank for the first run here?
Yeah, just our sponsors, Direct Innovations and of Trenco. We put a lot of work into this with the biggest break of the year, and it's clearly paying off. I think you'll see some more of the Evolve guys come through the pack in the second race, but hopefully it's another good race with Nick and Christian, and Travis was there as well, and hopefully maybe somebody else put something together in between these races.
Well, I for one can't wait to see it. Andrew, we'll let you go and get back to practicing there, and congratulations on the first win again.
Thanks, guys.
That was our winner from the first race of the evening. Now we get to do it all over again. And yeah, you can tell even other teams are starting to realize just what kind of special all-star lineup that the Mega Racing team has underneath them. We've seen some incredible teams in the past. In fact, one of the most dominant ones there, the Alliance team, Adam, which won for so many seasons before they stepped aside, and then, of course, Kinetic. But I don't think any of them have seen the sort of stacked talent that we've seen out of Mega Racing team.
Yeah, it's quite amazing to watch. You know, it's a collection of excellent drivers from all over iRacing, as well as some iRacing staff members who, just to remind you, iRacing staff members aren't inherently phenomenal drivers. But that being said, these ones absolutely are putting in practice, and it's great to see them out there, you know, using their product and having the same experience as the rest of us. And so it's awesome to see them out there, you know, accomplishing that. You know, Alliance was so strong. They had a ton of black stripe drivers as well on Alliance that were, especially back when majors did a lot more oval racing. But like, it's cool to see kind of a changing of the guard here as we get ready to go to the grid for the second race.
Absolutely. So wait a minute. You're telling me that Sean Ambrose isn't necessarily quick just because he's on staff now?
I mean, I guess we'll have to find out.
As we now go to the starting grid for today. In the second race, Andrew Warren will start on the pole, and Nick Ottinger will be P2. It's Christian Schallener starting from third again, and Travis Warling P4. The next row has Tom Abramitis in fifth, and Brenton Foster in P6. Justin Morton will start seventh. He'll have Nathan Dowd to his outside. Kevin Hill will be P9, and then the outside of row 5 will be Ozzie Milwayne. DJ?
In 11th place, it's going to be Ethan Azowski, followed by Brian Halleck, with Mark Stevenson and Justin Kirby behind them. Carter Cunninger will be 15th, with Austin Espedy lining up to his outside. Vincent LaHerbier and Jeff Schmeier behind them, with Brian Barnes 19th and Joey Haynes 20th.
We've got Daniel B. Johnson, Wayne Hutchison, Dick Mueller, Brian McGravy, Ray Partridge, Nick Kuhn, Scott Corbin, William Fletcher, Jason Wallet, Brent Kirby, Lynn Kinchlow, and Rob Powers rounding out your 32 car grid for this second race.
So here's the question. Last time, we unfortunately didn't get to see it live, but it was a pretty clean start. In fact, we think maybe the cleanest of the whole weekend. Will this be the same as the lights come up and the green flag is out off the line? Andrew Warren is looking decent, but it is a horrible start for Travis Warling, and Brenton Foster is going to take advantage, looking for third. Christian Schallener as well is nowhere to be seen. He tries to dive back up around the outside as the battle for the lead is wheel to wheel down into Coca-Cola around the outside. Andrew Warren is still facing off with Nick Ottinger. Nick is not going to want to give this one up. He knows that he needs to get that lead back, and how hard it is to take, but no, he gets shuffled in a second again.
A great start there from Nick Ottinger to get into that lead, with Andrew Warren tucked in behind. Brenton Foster able to get ahead of Christian Schallener as Tom Abramitis slots ahead of Kevin Hill as they go over the bridge. Great move from him, and then we see just how far the gaggle goes. It's very tight. That's a nice move from Azowski around Kevin Hill for 9th position.
Oh, Hill is starting to tumble. He's got so many drivers attacking him now. Stevenson is going to try and sneak by as they go wheel to wheel, coming up and over the dog leg. Oh, and over the bump. It's going to put him to the outside as Stevenson now shoves his nose down into the final corner. This pass might be done here if he can get the launch as we now ride on board with Carter Kundinger.
And there you go. Kundinger also going by there as well. So it looks like a little bit of a slowdown there, whether that was optional or mandatory there. I'm not entirely sure, but oh, we've got a little bit of side-by-side going on here in the back. Foster, we're hearing up front, handing over to Schallener for that third place position.
In fact, Foster's all the way down to fourth. I wonder if he got a slowdown as well. No, it looks like, oh, yep, it looks like Schallener has gotten past. Oh.
Yes, Schallener's up into third, having gotten past Foster, who handed over the position on the front straightaway. I can report that Jason Wallett's had a spin, as well as Austin Espedy, who went immediately to the pits. So I wonder whether or not he blew his engine. Brett Kirby also into the pits as well. Rob Powers having an issue. So quite a few drivers towards the back of the field having a little bit of struggles to start the race.
Apologies, my timing and scoring had not resorted itself in the correct order as Travis Worling, having a few problems there down in fifth. So some frantic first laps here, but we've already got a couple in pit lane. Espedy and Kirby, I think, involved in some sort of incident, judging by the fact that they both come down in. And you can see the Mega Racing team teammates of Foster and Schallener. And now we ride on board with Kundinger here. This is a fierce battle with Stevenson for 10th place. Stevenson is going to go a little too deep off into the kitty litter. He's going to have to get control of it as he eases back onto the black stuff, but more cars are able to go by. Now they're stacking up as they make contact with one another. Stevenson into 13th behind him. Kevin Hill and Vincent Leherbier side by side over the bridge. Leherbier is going to have to give way.
Yes, he is. He had to give way there. Otherwise, that was going to end in tears for both drivers. Very heads up from Vincent. Little bit of a look there going down into Foster's dip. He's got a better run, but I doubt he's going to be able to get anything done into the dog leg. He's just going to have to keep up the pressure here up into Recaro.
Wow, a very different start to this race compared to last time. And coming off the turn, looks like Stevenson is going to be able to overtake Schmeier, who has a poor exit. As now we hop on board. This is one of the Evolve cars with Milwain chasing Nick Kuhn. Unfortunately, it looks like he's not quite there. Ooh, he's got a great slipstream. The Dog Bear car is close, and he goes for it. Sends it down the inside of the sweeper. It looks like maybe Kuhn is just going to give that one up a little bit easily. Behind them, Partridge, Corbin, and Kinchlow now in a fight as well, coming out of Coca-Cola, breaking into Shell. Corbin with the inside of both of them. Can he get two done in almost one turn? No, he's going to pull off to the side. Is that a slowdown penalty for him? No, he's safe. Looks like he just can't get the power down, and the battle carries on, DJ.
My goodness, they're still side by side going over the Yokohama Bridge. Almost contact there at the exit of the corner. Very intense stuff here. I think the gloves are coming off in this second race, Joe.
Yeah, they know if they didn't get points last time, they got to make them up this time as we head back to Hill in 14th position. A gaggle of four here with Kirby, Jason Leherbier, Hill in 14th, and Schmeier in front of them in 13th. Is he going to take another peek? Hill thinks about it, but no, stays in line.
Absolutely great racing from everybody all over the field. We've seen very clean side-by-side racing, a little bit of bumping and banging, but I mean, nobody is intending to take anyone out. It's just good, clean, hard racing that we're seeing around here. Amazing racing for sure. I report that Andrew Waring has fallen off the back of Nick Ottinger by about 1.5 seconds. And it looks like Ray Partridge has had an issue around Coca-Cola going underneath the Yokohama Bridge. He's now recovered, but Christian Schallener tucked up behind Andrew Waring now under half a second. So he's putting pressure on Waring. He's definitely going to want to make that pass as opposed to Ottinger, who's his teammate from last time.
So when in the world did Ottinger get by? Or no, Ottinger was in front, earlier on. So Waring dropping back and Christian just hunting him down here. He mentioned earlier that it was his teammate that held him back from trying to make more aggressive attacks before. I wonder if we're going to see some fireworks here.
Probably going to be gloves off here for Christian Schallener as they work their way into shell corner. See him being a little bit more aggressive, trying to really bite into those curbs. Watch him here as they come in, now taking a little bit of a later line, a little bit of a lock up there for Andrew Waring as we jump back on board with Schallener's teammate Tom Abramitis.
This is all behind Justin Morton, who is up one spot from where he began this race. Dowd second in line in the black car that you see in front right now. As you mentioned, Abramitis on board, and then behind them, Osowski is bringing up the back of the quartet. As they go through Momo, they've spread apart a little bit. Is this maybe the conservation stage of the race, whether with fuel or tires?
Yeah, and taking a look at these three, they were actually nose to tail for most of last race. We didn't get a chance to cover it because of how good the lead battle was. We covered it a couple times, but Justin Morton, Nathan Dowd, and Tom Abramitis. Tom Abramitis having fallen back a little bit from his starting position of 5th position, so he's going to want to get back past both of these guys. But as we've seen over the course of tonight, it's very challenging to pass around here.
Down into shell once more. And behind him, he has backup as well. That's the frustrating thing, I'm sure, for everybody, is Brenton Foster is there to play wingman for the 31 as he sits in 4th position. He's not very close right now, but obviously he can play a rear guard in case anybody does have pace and starts to hunt them down through Foster's dip. And look at how close Christian is starting to get to Andrew Waring. So he withheld Nick Ottinger the first race. Can he do the same with Christian Schallener as they come up into Recaro?
Let's see if he is. Schallener taking a little bit of a later apex into the corner, just trying to maximize speed, and you can see there it looks pretty good for Christian. I don't know how much he's going to be able to gain in. The gap hovering at about 0.2 of a second right now.
Got a little too far back, I think, to try and pass this time. Is Ottinger backing into them, though? I wonder if this is also team tactics, if he maybe is trying to see if he can give a helping hand to his teammate.
I mean, it's possible, but it's also possible that Waring's just got the better speed than Ottinger when Ottinger's not pushing. So as I say that, we got a battle between Ethan Osowski and Tom Abramitis. Osowski gets past Abramitis for the 8th position. Osowski was the 4th man on this train with Justin Morton, Nathan Dowd, Abramitis, and Osowski. Osowski now the 3rd man in the train.
Yeah, just straight up out braked him down into shell. Saw an opportunity and decided to take it as soon as it was open. So 1, 2, 3 all together. That's your podium on screen now. And we still have about 38 laps to go. So this is shaping up to be a fun one as Ottinger dives to the inside a little bit briefly. I think we had a spin from Ray Partridge. Don't need to go to it. He just lost it on his own down into shell corner. And Christian much closer this time. Does he dare try and stick it in? The answer's no on that one.
No, Christian here waiting for the high percentage moves to really take off here. I think he's being very, very smart about it. And I thought it was very interesting there that Ottinger trying to break the draft going down the front straightaway. That to me tells me there's a little bit of team tactics going on.
Justin Morton losing multiple positions, and he's lost all 3. He was at the front of the train. Now he's at the back of it. Dowd, Osowski, and Abramitis through in the course of about 2.5 corners here.
Yeah, we're going to take a look and see what happened here. This is Justin at the front of this pack. And look at this. He gets absolutely mugged diving into that corner. That was a great move into shell from Dowd to just absolutely take the corner away. And then he gets freight trained for the rest of the section until they go over the Yokohama Bridge. That was a great move.
Yeah, once one passed him, it was open season and everybody was going to take a swing. So looks like that is going to be the key here today is Schallener still behind. I think Jeff Schmeier had a similar situation just happen out of the final corner. Actually, Vincent Leherbier is looking for a pass down into the sweeper now on Kevin Hill. This is for 13th and 12th, and it looks like, or 13th and 14th rather, Leherbier's got that one. Behind them, they've also got Justin Kirby catching up for that little scrabble.
Oh, and a little bit of side-by-side action here. This is Abramitis and Nazowski as they go in, riding on board with Justin Morton, who's in the popcorn position to all of this. Nazowski able to hold off Abramitis, but Justin Morton in that Forge racing machine may be able to have a little bit of a clawback here. He thought he may have been down and out, but certainly not anywhere close to it.
This has become quite the fight here. Little mistakes back and forth between the drivers. Carter Kundinger now closing in behind, hoping he could take something out of this. And this has helped Nathan Dowd. You can see he's not even in the picture most of the time. He is running away with that 6th place. And across the line to start lap 11. Looks like Gasowski has this one back under control, so we head up to our leaders once again.
Yeah, Christian Schallener definitely tucking in underneath Andrew Waring. Andrew's been backing off just a tiny bit of Ottinger, and Christian not backing off of Andrew whatsoever, trying to keep that pressure on. So he's definitely trying to keep Andrew to try and keep him honest right now, to make sure that he is pushing as hard as he can be, because Christian's looking for that mistake, looking for an opportunity to take that 2nd place away from Andrew Waring and join his teammate up at the front of the field. You can see just how much curb Christian's taking there as they dive through Momo and now through the dog leg. They're going to come to Recaro, and I think Christian's a little bit too far back to do anything here unless Andrew makes a mistake on the exit, but he's definitely keeping the pressure on.
Well, Andrews moved himself up to a tied 13th here on the all-time wins list, but it looks like he's not going to be able to go up one more to a 5th win unless something drastic happens here, although some of these lockups in front of him certainly could have something to do with it. As behind him we watch the likes of Warling and Foster fight for 4th. And I mentioned it earlier, this is Foster able to try and play a rear guard for Christian Schallener and prevent anybody who seems quick from catching up. And those UDOX cars often have quite a bit of speed, so Travis Warling will want to try and dispose of the 32, I'm sure.
Indeed, he will, and try to get up on by. And rest assured that Travis Warling knows what is going on with that machine. They are definitely squabbling it out here a little bit, trying to see if there's anything to be had. You can see the differing lines a little bit through the dog leg, just trying to carry as much momentum as possible.
They get right up to that outside wall. It's almost like a street course in that last corner. There's no runoff whatsoever. If you have a slip up, it's right to the concrete. And coming off the corner, Carter Kundinger back in 11th, playing defense on Stevenson. The Forge Racing driver not able to get the power down quite quick enough.
And these guys all duking it out there. And
Whoa! Oh, sorry, down to the inside, tries to keep it from running into the side of Carter Kundinger, and that almost became a pass in the end. Mark Stevenson, who lost control of his car, regained it just in time, and a little bit of cooperation from the O2 kept them both from wrecking out.
yeah, that's the V8 Supercars for you. Almost wreck out and make it into a pass. That's absolutely how it works. And as we've been watching this, and it continues to go on, Scott Corbin's had an issue. Absolutely phasing backwards as he was going to exit a Coca-Cola, just got it spun around and hits the tire barrier. But once again, keeping our eyes on this battle.
Ooh, yeah, Corbin had a second spin. I wonder if he might park it after those two, because he hit the barriers both times. Back to Dowd, with Asowski in front of him, but also Abramitis behind him, sandwiched between two very fast drivers. But it looks like Tom is not willing to risk it this time down into the sweeper and Coca-Cola. They'll fly under the bridge. They've also got a 4th involved. So that's Justin Morton at the back of the quartet, into Shell as well. Just inside the top 10 amongst these drivers. And they still have more than half the race left to go. We got plenty of racing to try and sort this out.
Yeah, indeed we do, Joe, but we jump back up to Christian Schallener. Speaking of plenty of race to sort this out, he continues to hassle Andrew Waring here, just trying to see if he can force a mistake out of that number 3. Down into Recaro there. They're going to come upon some lap traffic. It looks like that is going to be Scott Corbin directly ahead of them. So this is where we really saw some fireworks start to fire off in the first race. I think we may see it here in the second as well. As that's a move for Waring.
Thinks about it. and then rethinks it. Oh, he's a little deep into the corner. Gets chopped off at the apex, a tiny touch between them, but Nick Ottinger is able to hold on. He's still a little slow off the corner, and Warren is going to try and see if he could get another mistake, but it's not to be as Nick fins off the inside, but that slows up all three of them. Yeah, Corbin had some contact with the wall we denoted earlier, and so that's why he headed into the pits, thankfully leaving these three alone to fight amongst themselves. But Nick Ottinger is not looking flawless, even though he's got the track position now.
Yeah, might not be just amongst themselves very shortly, because Brenton Foster, if these guys keep battling like they are up front, Brenton Foster and Travis Warling are going to be right on the back of them. They're just on the back of the shot, to be honest with you, so they're not too far off.
Another little fight like that is going to bring him back in, but look at Nick suddenly turning on the afterburners, and in the course of a lap that time around, a 106.4 for Nick, a 106.8 for Warling. So yeah, that was a sudden spate of speed there for the 25 as he locks them up down into Coca-Cola once again. So he clearly has something in the tank for it.
Yeah, and maybe this could be a little bit of the team tactics now that Christian has been able to really catch up to the back of Warring. He may have thought that pass was going to be done, and Ottinger just started to put on those afterburners, as you said, Joe, to try to pull away a little bit, but not looking like Schallener able to get the move done and dusted right here. Jumping back in the field, though, to check out another one of the battles.
Yep, this is between two of our Evolve machines coming down into Shell.
This is Joey Haynes and Ozzie Milwane. Milwane actually started from the pits, missed the start, and so he's climbed himself all the way up to 17th position, putting pressure on Joey Haynes right now, so definitely a recovery drive for Milwane.
He's about 7 positions back from where he would have gridded up, so it would have been 10th spot if not for his ill fortune here. And so far, so good. Back to Christian Schallener. Still seeing whether or not he can shake a mistake out of Warring that will open the door wide enough that he can step through. And his teammate, deciding he's had enough of allowing the three to get close to him, has just put his arm out and held him at bay. Ahead of them, they've also got Jason Wallet there, another of the unorthodox drivers that they're catching, but not yet. So maybe they get up to him by the front stretch.
Nice battle for 4th position between Warling and Foster. Warling able to get through on Foster as Foster got very loose over the top of the Yokohama Bridge, but Warling a little bit loose himself as they come now through Foster's dip and now through as they dive through the dog leg. Very good driving there from Warling to keep control of that thing.
So we watch the onboard cam. Looking through the corner, up and over the hill. Yeah, Foster a little too far behind from Warling, so he's not going to be able to make that pass. Looks like Rob Powers is also pitted in. And Justin Kirby, I think we mentioned, has been in and out of pit lane, having been now lapped. Foster, another little lockup in front of them. Is that, yeah, that's Jason Wallet. He's going to pull off the left-hand side. Nice gentlemanly driving out of Jason.
Yeah, indeed, and we saw a little bit of that in the first race. We also saw a lot of guys holding on to their position with tooth and nail, so it'll be interesting to see now as we start to get into the traffic pattern of this race, what exactly is going to shake out and just how these slower cars, these lapped cars, are going to affect the way this racing goes. Because, Joe, when we had it in the first race, it was wild and crazy.
And it went all the way up close to the top 10. I think it was 14 drivers or something left on the lead lap we saw. As we now ride on board with Justin Morton. Still stuck in this 9th position at the back of Tom Abramitis and Nathan Dowd. Down into Recaro. Looks like he's, Recaro, excuse me. He's not going to be able to be close enough to attack this time, but Tom is keeping the 11 honest, even though Justin looks way too far back to really be much of a threat for the time being. Watch the Forge Racing driver down into the turn. Back up at the front. It is 0.6 of a second from P1 to P2, but it is still stuck at 0.2, almost on the back bumper of the number 3 that Christian Schallener has once again found himself with a car in front and no place to go.
Yeah, and Christian really is going to have to find his way by Andrew. This is desperate times for him now because he wants to be up there and holding off Andrew for his teammates so that Nick can feel a little bit less pressure. Oh, huge mistake from Andrew Warwick that time. Manages to hang on to it, but that puts him at a shallow entry into Recaro. This could be Christian's chance.
He's going to get the slipstream. He's a little bit closer than we've seen him before. Drifts to the inside slightly. He doesn't cover him off completely. Warren leaves the door open, but Schallener does not feel it's worth the risk, and he backs out by the time they get to the slowest point here in turn 1. Now swinging back into Shell. He's certainly looking like he wants something, but I just can't tell what he's looking for. Is it going to be a slam dunk move? Does he not like the feeling of trying to go side by side into that first corner? I thought for sure we'd see him send it in.
Well, Joe, I think part of it here is he knows he's got the speed to be able to get on by him. He's seen Waring in the previous race as well, and he may just be waiting here for a high percentage move to present itself in the earlier stages of this race. Remember, we're not at halfway yet, and remember also that we heard Andrew Warren talk about how he had to change his style for the second race to watch out for the tires a little bit more, and it could just be that Christian is trying to preserve those tires as much as possible to set himself up for a big attack in the second half of this race.
About a second off of their times from the first few laps of this race, so it's not drastically dropped off in these 21 laps. And some more smoke being kicked up by Nick Ottinger amongst them. 21 laps in. We're getting close to that halfway point. Can see a bit of a battle forming behind them between Abramitis and Dowd. That's been kind of bubbling around for a bit itself. 7th place potentially up for grabs.
Yeah, it's interesting to, talking about what kind of a move, the kind of high percentage moves that Christian Schallener is looking for before he makes his move on Andrew Waring. And it's just interesting to note that Andrew's finished ahead of Christian last race and will possibly this race as well, unless Christian can get the move done. And if that's the case, then, well, we'll see right here. But unfortunately, Christian, not a great exit. But if that's the case, then Christian will lose 12 points to Andrew over for this race. And with Ozzy Milway not having a great round, that definitely brings Andrew closer to Christian in the battle for the championship.
Yeah, that'll put it down to 30 points between them. And honestly, anybody who can hold Christian accountable in the points has got to be ecstatic, knowing that they've got a shot, maybe trying to take it to one of the greatest we've ever seen in the major series. But look at how much he's dealing with right now, as Andrew has had his mirror full of that blue Mega Racing Team car for this entire race. And last time it was a different Mega Racing Team car for the entire race that he was looking upon. And man, he is looking mighty close. If he gets a good exit, might see another shot here on the main straight. This is where Christian needs to square off the corner, but he just does not get the throttle down.
No, it just doesn't look like he's able to get it. I think he's being a little bit trepidatious there. Doesn't want to spin those rear tires coming through Recaro, although there's a big lockup there in front. Not a big one, but just a big one there for Nick Ottinger coming down into Coca-Cola. He is definitely cooking those tires a little bit.
What are the temperatures now looking like as we're almost about 1 p.m. virtual standard time? About 94 degrees. So it hasn't gone up as much as we saw it go up in the first race. Looks like it's settling in. And maybe that'll help the drivers, especially if they set their setup, Adam, for handling temperatures right around here. If they saw that it was 92 at the start, then that means they've got to still be pretty well in the ballpark.
Yeah, pretty well in the ballpark at this point, so I don't think they're going to be dealing with the traction issues that they were dealing with last race unless they're pushing very hard. Now, Ottinger is dealing with a little bit of traffic right now. Wayne's going to go to the outside and allow Ottinger through, but that's going to definitely affect his straight line speed. Warren's going to get a nice draft off of Hutchison this time around, but a little bit of side draft here on the straightaway as Hutchison does lift and let the three through.
So thankfully that does not interrupt this battle too much here. Just a small hiccup, and we're back to a three-way fight for the lead. And behind them, Travis Warnlin is definitely dropping off, though. He is about 3.5 seconds behind. So we look to Abramitis instead, who sits a mere 0.3 off of Nathan Dowd. I was talking about this a little bit earlier, how he's been just making sure to keep the pressure on, making sure this bubbles and brews and makes them lock up in little ways like that. Just try to overheat these tires to open up the door eventually.
Yeah, that's the real key here, Joe, is we've seen drivers be able to make mistakes and catch them in these V8 supercars, but it's really and truly the mistakes that cause the tires to overheat, locking up the brakes a little bit, trailing the brakes a little bit more than you'd like to, doing those things, getting those tires worn in a little bit more. That is really and truly what you want to be doing if you are one of these drivers.
Almost something of a stalemate here between them. Although this is looking like a pretty decent exit. He is on him, and he's going to start pulling that slipstream. Don't think he's close enough. He's about 0.2 back. Yep, it's such a short straightaway here coming down through. Only 1.5 miles in length around the track as a whole. So every time you get on the throttle, next thing you know, you're back on the brakes or having to turn the car again.
And there's just not enough time for you to get the aerodynamic disadvantage of being the lead driver of a pack at high speed. That being said, we do need to go back up to second because they're starting to deal with a lot of traffic right now. That was William Fletcher who pulled over and let these guys by. But now Christian Schallener and Andrew Waring with Nick Ottinger are going to run up against Scott Corbett and Daniel B. Johnson on the straightaway again. So this should be a decently clean pass of Scott Corbin, but Daniel B. Johnson's another story.
Yeah, we were riding on board with Christian when we saw up ahead. It looked like Waring actually touched the grass going into Foster's dip, and he's going to think about it and then backs out of it by the time they get on the binders. So Christian is feeling the pressure to try and do something now that he's seen a mistake from the number 3. Does he feel like he's now got him a little frazzled? Is there going to be more of those offs up in front?
Well, there certainly could be with just the amount of traffic that they're having to deal with. Daniel B. Johnson getting out of the way for everybody there, but it is not an easy path for either of these drivers as they continue to really push their way around the track. Waring definitely looking like he is under pressure here.
Ooh, Carter Kundinger was actually in the wall in Coca-Cola. I think he managed to outbrake himself and unfortunately could not get it woed up in time, but look at how close Christian is. Coming up into the final corner. Will we see a move this time? Down into the sweeper. He's on him. He's feeling the effects of it. It's about 0.2 seconds, coming down to less than 0.2 seconds. He's going to show it again. Ooh, he braked a little deeper than him that time.
Yeah, that was definitely an attempt for sure, and clipping a little bit of that inside curbing gets him a little upset, so unfortunately the car is not going to have the exit that he needs to make it past Andrew, but that was a good attempt from Christian, and Andrew now knows that Christian is looking for his way past with aggression. I can report that Nathan Dowd had his own spin. That's put him behind Justin Morton and out of the reach of Tom Abramitis. Tom Abramitis now in 7th with Justin in 8th.
For those wondering between these Fords and Holdens if there is any difference, they are the same under the hood in iRacing. It's sort of the NASCAR style physics, as we like to call them, where they're identical and it's all just the aesthetic features that are different. There's another big slide coming out of Andrew Waring as he is hustling the car at every opportunity. So these are all equal amongst each other. There is nothing to be gained by choosing one or more, but what's interesting is the top 3 are Holden. In fact, the top 7 have 6 Holdens and only 1 Ford amongst them, and that is Travis Warling right now.
Yeah, so a little bit interesting there. That's just the top teams choosing the Holdens there, but we're seeing some more lockups there out of Andrew Waring, and I think he may have overcooked those tires a little bit. Remember, he said he wanted to change the way he was driving the car, but I think all of this pressure from Christian Schallener may have affected that plan.
Yeah, it's so easy to overdrive when someone is just breathing down your neck that way. We're down to 19 to go, past the halfway point for sure. Credit to them, they both kept up with Nick Ottinger. It's about 1.1 seconds up there. So yes, he's pulled a gap, but he's not really running away with it. So nice little job by the 25 up to this stage. Dick Mueller is going to be next on their list to lap, and he's way too far ahead of the lap here on the main straight. There's been no sense in him trying to lift along this point. So there is a good chance that they're going to catch that car in the twisty bits.
Yeah, definitely a good chance. And Andrew Waring and Christian Schallener are definitely starting to show signs of looseness on throttle now. So both of them really starting to struggle with their tires, even though the temperature is starting to decrease. 93 degrees now. As actually, that's Dick Mueller offline. So that forces Nick Ottinger to go the short way around the track. So now it's up to Andrew Waring to figure out how to get by.
And Christian Schallener took another look into Shell that time, but that cost him. Look at how much ground he lost because of that. And yeah, even having a compromise coming over the Yokohama Bridge for Dick Mueller on top of things. The 31 is starting to get a little bit more intense with this. And what's interesting to me, DJ, is that he looked at the same place that we saw Nick Ottinger make a lot of looks, down in his shell, that little right-hand hairpin in turn 3. I wonder if it's a similar setup thing or if he was just watching what Nick was doing and decided if it works for him, it works for me.
I have to imagine that it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, Joe, probably recognizing what his teammates is doing, although Nick now being the one to lock up a little bit going down into Coca-Cola. And so getting out of the way there of Brent Kirby that they just passed on by. But I think it's that, and I think maybe the setup just favors a little bit of the quick burst of speed to be able to get down into that tight, narrow corner of Shell.
Then over the bridge once again. Now they're definitely losing touch with Ottinger. The more those two fight, the more that we see little mistakes, the easier it's going to be for Nick to take a victory. And I think this will be Nick's first majors victory. I need to check the stats here and see if that's the case, actually.
And I think Christian's fine with Nick taking the win. What he doesn't want is for Andrew to finish ahead of him, so he's got to find a way to get by, and this front straightaway is not doing it for him. He's got to find another creative place to do it. And we talked about, possibly doing it out of Shell or into Champion, but he's got to find a place to surprise Andrew with an inside move, just like we saw happen to Justin Morton earlier.
Exactly, and I can confirm this would be Nick Ottinger's first ever majors victory. So this will certainly be special. Whoa, off into the grass, tries to catch it, but there's no room on the outside of Recaro for Le Herbier. I saw that tiny little touch and I wondered, and as soon as that car started to wiggle, there was no hope of saving that thing.
No, not at all, Joe, and did well to not have it completely spear off into the wall there and just kind of sideswiped it as it went along, but a little bit of heart and mouth moment for everybody around him.
And guys, we need to catch a replay, I think, of Daniel B. Johnson. He made contact with William Fletcher coming underneath the bridge, and those two got very, very close together. And actually, let's hold off on that replay because take a look at this. Andrew Waring at the front lockup, and that brings Christian Schallener right to the back of Andrew.
This is the closest we've seen him, I think, since about the start of the race. Gonna look at the left-hand side. This time he's actually gonna go for it. Stays side by side, almost through the grass, but still keeps it from spinning out. He's got the inside here, but it's not gonna be the inside through Shell. This job is not done, as Waring is gonna fight back as they break hard into the right-hander. It's gonna go back in favor of the 3, and he successfully defends.
A great defense there from Andrew Waring, really putting his elbows out there and just forcing Christian Schallener off onto the side of the track where he did not want to be. That is exactly how you defend a position. Here is that replay you were talking about, Adam.
Yeah, Daniel B. Johnson just forced off track there and had to cut back even though he didn't have traction, because otherwise he would have hit the tire barriers that make the cut through work. So great job from him to keep himself from sustaining major damage, but he lost a lot of positions with that. But here comes Christian Schallener yet again, just not close enough this time to challenge Waring.
I wonder if he wore out some of the rears a little bit trying to get on the throttle in that fight, because he was nowhere coming off of Recaro that time. not even close to being able to attack. Brian McGreevy is the next one up to be lapped by them. It's one of the unorthodox drivers, so doesn't have any sort of loyalties there between the two drivers in this fight that's approaching him.
Yeah, none at all, Joe. So probably just going to try to get out of the way to the best of his abilities here. Only 14 laps to go. Rest assured, Schallener's going to know that, and he's going to see what Waring has been doing on those tires. And hopefully, if the strategy that I think Christian's trying to play out here, he has preserved a little bit more rubber on those tires and able to do it pretty well.
Waring racing for Evolved Sim Sports, who, at least based on the driver pro standings right now, are looking very good, and once again just causing a little bit of an issue off the corner for the likes of Waring. The lap traffic slows him up. Christian Schallener tried this last time, and this time looks like he's not going to try and stay side by side, although he's deep into the turn and keeps from making contact with the three, but just barely. And I think he had to dive to the grass to keep that from happening.
Yeah, it was absolutely just an attack of preservation to try and keep both of them from coming together. Oh, and Christian takes it into the grass just a little bit, and that's going to lose a lot of time.
And he did that last time too, remember, on the final lap when he was trying to attack. Just touched the grass and it spun the car. He caught it and was able to keep it in third. But now he has got a lot of ground to make up. It's about 1.8 seconds to second place.
Oh, and Justin Kirby and Vincent Leherbier have just gotten together. That was a huge moment, and Vincent Leherbier way off track.
That's not the first problem in this race for Leherbier. He was trying to make a position back up on Kirby, and it was wow, it was a great run. I'm actually amazed he managed to get side by side, and then Kirby tried to turn into the corner. Unfortunately, there's a car there now.
Yeah, indeed. And so both drivers losing a lot of time there. Leherbier obviously losing the most as he took a pretty sizable bonk to the front of that car. You can see him there just kind of getting all the way through.
He doesn't have a meatball, but he's taking repairs. So not sure why Justin Kirby is coming down in. Meanwhile, Travis Worling can now see Christian Schallener in front of him. Christian should be okay himself, we think, because he didn't hit anything in his little moment going down to the corner, but he certainly has fallen back. It's still at about 2.2 seconds. I wonder if he wore out the tires a little bit. It's costing him some pace.
Yeah, it sure looks like it. He's falling off by 2 seconds, as you said. So definitely falling back into the clutches of Travis Worling. So I think Christian's going to have to, regroup and try and cool those tires down and try and make his way back up there to the back of Andrew Waring. And now Andrew can also focus ahead on Nick Ottinger. And the worst case for Christian is if Andrew Waring catches up to Nick and is able to take this win away. That would be a big, big points loss for Christian.
Absolutely. Well, and let's not forget about that team battle too. I mentioned it earlier that Mega and Evolve basically are two protagonists here. They hold first and second. There's about 43 points between them. In terms of the team championship, that's actually incredibly small. So any little swing for them could change it in a big way. And as they come through Foster's dip, looks like Udox wants to get back involved in this. They're sixth in the points right now with about 833 to their name. So they're ways back, though they do show strongly at some tracks. This doesn't seem to be their strong suit nearly as much, that they are representing pretty fairly. Just unfortunately, fourth place, probably a little disappointment for them.
Yeah, I've got to think it is. That's normally one of the teams that we see up scrabbling towards the pointy end of the field, and a little bit of a lock up there for Christian Schallener. Christian looking like he is struggling a little bit here with tire wear, Joe, as you were kind of alluding to earlier, not exactly having the easiest go through traffic.
And there are only 10 laps to go at this point. However, that said, they are down to 16 drivers on the lead lap, so we're looking pretty similar to last time on how many are going to wind up finishing on that lead lap. As yeah, it was 14. I can confirm that completed all 46 or 48 of them. No, excuse me, 46 laps rather. And a little bit of a check up there for Christian Schallener. His lap traffic certainly not playing nice for him. That's Nick Kuhn in front of him. And Nick's going to pull off to the side. He sees the leaders coming. He does not want to be a hindrance. But so the damage is done, and Christian Schallener finds Travis Worling within half a second of him now.
Oh, we just had a big moment between William Fletcher, Daniel B. Johnson, and Brian Halleck, as Brian Halleck actually goes off into the gravel and into the outside wall. So that's 9th place Brian Halleck, who's just had an issue with a couple of lap cars.
Yeah, Johnson just got a little bit loose, I think, and that certainly didn't help the situation.
No, it certainly didn't. And here is that moment. You just see it, loses it. Oh, very, very squirrely in the back there, as you can see.
Great job catching that in the midst of traffic, too. So that could have been a lot worse. But the drivers are keeping their head up at this point. Travis Worling down to 0.3 of a second now. Man, Christian does not look like himself. That said, Christian's cut it down. It's 1.4 seconds. So he actually has caught up somewhat to Andrew Waring. But the fact that Travis has been reeling him in bit by bit seems a bit mysterious to me.
And actually, to be honest with you, Christian Schallener was at this point before he got caught up behind Ray Partridge or Nick Kuhn that last time around. So he's definitely gaining on Andrew, but Travis just has the measure on both of them right now as far as pace. But as we've seen, we haven't seen a lot of passes on track in this lead pack.
Got a few more DNFs this time, I think, than the last time. Espedy, Kirby, Brent Kirby, I should clarify, and Rob Powers are all out of this race. Justin Kirby has been sitting in pit lane for about 4.5 minutes taking repairs, so I doubt we'll see him again today with only 8 laps left on the ticker as they break into the final turn once more. They've got Andrew Waring right in front of them. It's down to 0.9 of a second. They've been just plucking away at that, trying to see if they can get him within attacking range before this race is over. But we've already seen, both in last race and this one, DJ, it's one thing to pass or to catch a car. It's another thing to pass them.
It is indeed, but I have to say there, Schallener able to take 0.4 of a second out of Andrew Waring on that last lap. He is almost back to the rear bumper there, so maybe just a little bit of that momentum here is going to help him carry it along. But as we said, he's got to watch out from behind as well. Worling within 0.5. This is going to be a very, very interesting battle to see how this fires off in the last 6 laps.
And also, guys, Ottinger was 1.5 seconds slower than Waring that last lap, so that's why that gap has closed as well, and that was all due to traffic. So if Ottinger's not careful, these 3 will be right up to his back bumper again.
Also, don't need to go there, but just want to give a shout out to Ethan Osowski, who has taken a stop and is our highest driver to have taken a pit stop. He's up to 13th, and he's still down 2 from where he began, but doing a great job of trying to make it a viable strategy to go for 1 stopper here today. And that's 2nd, 3rd, and 4th on your screen right there. Schallener back up to Waring now, but Worling is going with him. So will Worling be watching and seeing, will Christian make another move? And if he makes another move, is that going to put him at a disadvantage?
I gotta think it might, Joe. Christian has got to be a lot more careful in trying to take the move here, as Worling will be just begging for him to make a little bit of a mistake, a little bit of a slip up to be able to gain maybe 1 or 2 positions. We saw earlier in the race with Justin Morton, when he got a little bit wide coming through Shell Corner, what can happen? You can very easily get railroaded around this track. So you got to be very, very careful, take those high percentage moves.
Absolutely. This train has closed together extremely tight up and around the final turn. Not sure if it's close enough, but that's about as close as we've seen them for many laps, close enough that Schallener is going to make sure that Andrew sees him in his mirrors as they break through the sweeper and into Coca-Cola. Looking for the exit off of Coca-Cola. He's going to once again make sure that he goes offline. Andrew Warren gives a bit of space, too deep down into Shell, but Christian was not close enough to actually get inside.
And Christian's actually cutting these corners a tiny bit too tight. So it's actually making it so that the car is unsettled because he's clipping these inside curbs. Now on the fast stuff, that's working for him. But on these slower turns, the car's not settled enough for him to get the power down to get that advantage on Andrew. So if he just backed off the aggressiveness just a tiny little bit, he might have an opportunity to get the power down and at least be even with Andrew Warren going into a corner. I think that's all he needs. But Travis Worling definitely looking on, licking his chops, hoping that these two start to come side by side. Mark Stevens has had a problem from 10th.
Yeah, that is out into the first braking zone through Coca-Cola. Just spun himself, it looks like, and is able to get going eventually after those incidents. And speaking of which, our leaders are now coming through that corner right here. And once again, Christian Schallener is close, just pinching the inside of the turn, compromising his line, making sure that Warren's going to have to think about it. If I know Christian, though, third place twice in a row is not going to make him happy.
No, not at all, Joe. He wants to win every single time, and I think he, in this position, he'll just want to get P2 away from Warren, if at all possible, to be able to claim a 1-2 for that Mega Racing team. That'll be enough of a win for him here today, but he just wants to get by, I can guarantee you with that.
Going to be 3 laps to go. And all this has been taking place well ahead of the rest of the field. It's 13 seconds down to Brenton Foster, who sits in 5th place. To give you an idea, it's barely over a minute around for a lap. So that's a quarter of the lap they've got to the next car down for position. Big lockup that time. Look at the huge plume of smoke left behind by Warren.
Yeah, and a rear lockup for Christian Schallener. Last lap, Andrew Warren got a rear lockup into this corner as well. So these two are absolutely pushing, and Worling is pushing as well, just not quite as hard as them. With 3 laps to go, though, it's time to bring out, to pull out all the stops and go for it.
Well, those stops, unfortunately, are becoming fewer and fewer that they are able to pull out. Coming up through Momo, they all look pretty smooth at this point. They've been lapping around this place for more than 80 laps just in race conditions here today. That's not to count all the practice, warm-up, qualifying. They know their way around this circuit. Lap traffic starting to show in front. Mark Stevenson is the next one up. Nick Ottinger's already gotten by him. And then Jeff Schmeier will be the next one up the road. This is probably going to be the last 2 cars that they have to lap. What is this going to do to this battle?
Well, we will have to find out here as they close down into Shell Corner. Again, Schallener taking just a little bit of a narrower line there. The car getting a little bit upset, as you pointed out earlier, Adam, coming through the corner now, working their way up into Champion Curve. Coming around here, Christian doesn't look like he's gotten a little bit of a wiggle there, though, for Andrew Warren.
That's the sort of wiggles that Christian needs, but he's not close enough. Little bobbles that maybe at the right time give him a better exit. But one more lap is going to decide it. Can Warren hold him off that long? Last time he was, but he had some help with a little bit of a battle between teammates. This time he does not have that luck. And look how close he is. Oh, but it was a slip up from Schallener. That would have been a beautiful opportunity, but a poor exit cost him.
And Travis Worling is short on fuel, guys. He's coasting down the start-finish line to try and save fuel to make it around this final lap.
Wow.
He's got 10 seconds over Brenton Foster, and that should be enough, but still going to be close.
Let's see if Christian Has got any more in it? He wants it. He sends it in deep and somehow still makes the corner as around their outside. That was Mark Stevenson letting them through. Nice job letting the leaders be able to carry on that fight. He's still here, but from here to the finish, it is going to be almost impossible to get a good move done.
Indeed, it is, Joe. They're trying to get their way around here. He has got to really chuck it in, but we've got to go to Nick Ottinger, who comes out of the dogleg for the final time.
Nick Ottinger ready to take a maiden win in the major series. With all the success he's seen in sim racing, I wonder where this one ranks for him as he slides it out of the corner in celebration. The 25 wins here at Oran Park. Andrew White, oh, he ran out of fuel! He ran out of fuel and Christian Schallener beat him to the line!
Unbelievable! Right on the exit of the final corner, he runs out!
I'm double checking to see if that's the case, or if he just spun the tires. And yeah, he ran out of fuel. It sputtered literally to the line. We're gonna watch Kevin Hill now as he is in a big fight with Brian Halleck for 8th position. And is Halleck also going to be tight on fuel here as the drop bear looks back at us, and it looks like Kevin Hill has a good run. It's going to be a race to the line, but it looks like that one will go to Halleck in the end, and only 13 cars this time will see the finish on this one. But let's take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results. And don't forget about the driver interviews, because this one's going to be fascinating.
Trying to make that move, Shorty. You got 4 wide in the back. Look at this.
That's not going to work.
You got Jeros, you got McGrauther, you've got everyone there copping it in, and they will funnel themselves out. That is what Watkins Glen's all about. 4 wide heading into the carousel.
Styles seems to think so. He looks to the inside, coming down into Brooklands. He's got the apex, but he doesn't have the right-hander into Luffield. This is going to be tough to complete it. A nose starts to pull ahead, and does the Lamborghini have enough grunt beneath it? It's hard to say yet. Now through Woodcote, this carries on, DJ.
It carries on, and they're going to go side by side into Cops. Here they come, waiting to see who's going to make it work. It is the Porsche that's able to pull it out. A great move, but here comes the fight back. This isn't done yet for the Demon Tweaks car. They're going to try to go around the outside here of Maggots.
And Jack Styles sends it in deep, and that is going to get him into 3rd.
Tries to set him up here down the straightaway into Tarzan.
Look at the immediate defense, but now, oh, he's a little weavy there, and he's going to have to give him the outside way deep into the corner. Lotfula somehow makes it. He wasn't quite on the apex, but that's the pass done for the 22.
It's looking very good. Simo's going to try to tuck up behind in the draft. He's going to have to really send it here down into the Firestone turn, and send it he does down to the inside. But that's going to be a little bit of a fight back there from Pablo, but Pablo has to give up the ghost.
Nobody able to make the overtake until now as Mickey goes wide, forces himself to have to cover off the inside once again. Andy Fox trying the long way around, which is going to switch back to the inside. First change of the lead in some time as they elbow each other out of the way, and Andy Fox is your new leader. It's going to be 2 positions down. Oh no, they tangle. Mats Anderson coming together. Another little hello from Mickey. He did not like that. Welcome back to Oran Park. Race 2 here of the Majors Sandown 240 went to Nick Ottinger. Christian Schallener finished 2nd, so it's a 1-2 for Mega Racing in that team's championship, but it was close. About 2/10 at the line as Andrew Royne held that 2nd place all the way until the checkered flag, where his car sputtered on fuel. He still gets a podium, but his rival now finds himself lessening the inroads that Andrews made in the team or the pro championship. Travis Warling came in 4th as Brenton Foster finished P5. Tom Abramitis wound up 6th, down 1 position from where he started. Justin Morton was all sevens the whole way through, grid to finish in both races, as Brian Halleck finished in 8th. Then you've got Kevin Hill, P9, and Ethan Osowski finishing 10th, DJ.
In 11th, it was Ozzie Milwain, followed by Joey Haynes, with Nathan Dowd, the last car to finish on the lead lap, in 13th. Mark Stevenson was 14th, followed by Jeff Schmeier and Brian Barnes, with Carter Cunninger, Nick Kuhn, Brian McGreevy, and Vincent LaHerbier rounding out your top 20.
Absolutely. And the first 8 cars of the 20th and down actually improved their positions over the course of the race. Dick Mueller up to 21st, with Wayne Hutchinson holding steady at 22nd. Then we got Daniel B. Johnson, who actually fell back 2 positions. Then we got Lynn Kinchlow up from 31st to 24th, so a good race, second race for him. And William Fletcher, 28th to 25th position. Then we got Scott Corbin, who moved himself up 1 spot into 26th, and Jason Wallet up into 27th. And Ray Partridge up into 28th position. And then Justin Kirby, 13 laps down, 29th. Then we got Rob Powers, 14 laps down, 30th. Brent Kirby, 18 laps down and 31st. And Austin Espedy, unfortunately, does not appear to have... he did start the race, but he wrecked out on the first lap in Coca-Cola corner.
While we wait for the drivers to come chat with us, why don't we take one more look at the replay on that finish if we can? I'd love to ride on board with Andrew Waring and listen to the car come to the line, because that had to have just been one of the most gutting moments in his sim racing career, to have that happen. It's always your worst fear when it's that close, as we now pull that one up. And looks like this is just, I think, after the finish line, or is this the start of the last lap? Looks like this is the start of the last lap. Here we go. Let's ride on board, DJ, and see what it's like to see this cruelly taken away at the last moment.
Yeah, you can see here, driving good lines, getting around traffic there. Schallener trying to poke his nose to the best of his abilities around here. Works his way up and over the Yokohama Bridge. This is where he's probably starting to breathe a little bit easy, thinking he may have gotten it. You see a little bit of brake lock up there in front, and then the drivers working their way down here through the dog leg, or that's through Momo and through the dog leg now, and then just listen as this car starts to sputter.
God, it's so close. Oh, so close, and he zips by right at the last moment.
Absolute heartbreak.
I cannot believe that. In the meantime, let's go to our winner, Nick Ottinger, who takes his first ever majors victory. And Nick, we talked about, you've had all this experience with eNASCAR, racing at the top level on the oval side in iRacing. Where does this one stack up to take your first win in a series that brings the best in the world out at some of the most challenging races?
Well, I appreciate it, Joe, but I'm only... it's a team effort, back with Mega Racing Team, with Christian Schallener, with Tom, with Brent. It's, at the end of the day, you're only as good as your teammates and your supporters around you. And, we luckily had a pretty good car tonight, and it was interesting tonight. It ranks up there pretty high for just, the challenge it was. I mean, it's not an easy car to drive. It's not an easy car to, save fuel and still contend with, Andrew on the first heat. So, it's a different experience. It's fun doing some heat battles and stuff like that. A different strategy of saving fuel for a majority of the race and still pushing your limits as much as you could. I did what I could on Andrew the first race. I gave him a few bumper tags. And, he still held his line pretty good. So it's ultra difficult to pass a car that's comparable to you in some form. So, to be able to, get them on the start where we're a little weak on the first heat and kind of go back to, studying a little bit. We really studied for that second heat start, and, we got to lead, and, at the end of the day, it was pretty good for our team, pretty good points wise for everyone at Mega Racing Team. So pretty good day.
I wondered if that first heat start had an effect on the second one, you trying to take that revenge and get it right back. So the Mega Racing Team, you talked about the team effort. Obviously, this one, too, helps in that championship. But I'm sure you guys probably looking over your shoulder with that Evolve team, how hard they've been running you.
Yeah, I mean, they're a good group, end of the day, it's they put a lot of time and effort into this event, and it showed. Andrew was pretty comparable on a lot of forms tonight. So, it's I see a lot of teams pushing us. At the end of the day too, it's that what we can control. And, we're going to a lot of different type of, racing. You go to oval racing next and Lotus 79. So, it's a different form. It's my bread and butter. What people are, known for is oval and stuff. So, going to have to, tackle a new car in that and see what that gets us.
Well, congratulations on that maiden victory. Is there anybody you want to thank that helped make it happen?
Definitely got to thank, Mega Racing team. Honestly, again, you're only as good as the supporters and teammates around you. And, we put the homework in, at least last night to kind of prepare to what we could do. And, it prevailed. We had all 4 of us in the top 6, both races, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a team effort. They had pace, they had comparable pace to, even make it on fuel too, save, late in the run too. So, and we're going to keep pushing. Our job's not done to keep getting more wins, more coins with the major series. So that's what we want to do, get some more wins for our Mega Racing team.
Great stuff there from Nick Ottinger, your winner in the heat number 2 today. Looks like DJ's caught up with Christian Schallener, who has a surprise second place.
Christian, yeah, able to pip Andrew right at the line. That has got to be a little bit of relief for you after what looked like a pretty tough race there, stuck behind him.
Yeah, we talked in the kind of break between them. It's really hard to pass. And actually, it was kind of weird because I had a bit more confidence this race than in the last race. I think that actually went against me. In the first race, I felt like I had kind of the best sort of tire/fuel situation of everybody at the end. And, I felt like I was in a position where I could have, if I'd have, used the bumper, I felt like I could have raw pace won that one. This one, knowing that, didn't get a great getaway once again. It was better than the first race, but it was still absolutely terrible. And then I was kind of just trying to push to move up and everything. And I actually think it was a kind of a bad decision because it made it harder to get off most corners than it had been in race 1. And I felt like I probably actually gave up my advantage by pushing a bit too hard. But yeah, towards the end, I was close on fuel. I knew that Andrew and both Andrew and Travis were going to be close on fuel because they kind of clearly had been in race 1, especially Travis. So I was kind of not too worried about Travis because I had a feeling that him having to push like he did to kind of catch up was gonna really bite him at the end, and it did. So I wasn't too worried about him. But with Andrew, obviously with him being ahead, like starting that last lap, I kind of got a feeling he was going to be really tight. And in the middle of the lap, areas where he'd been quite fast and quite difficult to stick with, I was suddenly running him over. And knowing that, kind of right before we went through that sort of fast kink at the very end of the lap, I just completely lifted out and rolled it out of the gas because I wanted to be able to go, full power to the line just because I had a feeling. That's why I picked the outside, because I'd seen how much he was lifting, and I was like, he's going to run out. And yeah, it was very tight, but just enough. And it was a good decision to go to the outside because if it had just followed him into the corner, I would have probably just punted him across the line.
Well, obviously, it seemed like a lot of strategy changed in this race. Talking about fuel saving, talking about those tires. Watching the Euro race this morning, we heard from Andrew that his strategy changed based off of watching that. Were you guys always planning to go no stop, or was it one stop on the cards for you?
I don't think we ever seriously considered the one stop, to be honest. We were talking about it a little bit last night. And international, the no stopper looked, to be the way. So based on that, we were kind of already committed to not stopping. So we were ready to save fuel to make the distance. We already knew kind of how far we needed to go. So when it came to watching Europe and seeing the 30-second losses for the guys who pit, it was at that point it kind of just cemented what we already were going for. So it was no change for us. It was a little different, obviously, trying to shoot for a number in a race situation versus practice. But the kind of comforting thing was knowing that pretty much no matter what you did with the no stop, even if you had to save very, very aggressively, like you saw with Travis at the end there, it's still quicker than stopping. So that, was kind of went in our favor.
Gotcha. Well, looking ahead, we changed things up a little bit, taking the Lotus 79 to an oval. Are you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we talked about it a little bit with the Europe broadcast. The 79 is a pretty fun car. Phoenix, the Legacy Phoenix, is actually a very fun track. We've ran there before in the league, and I've raced it in kind of other cars and whatnot, and it is a lot of fun. I'm hopeful we can kind of have the same result next race as we had here, because points wise as a team we just did kind of ridiculously good. I think we exceeded our own expectations for that one. None of our drivers finished lower than 6th. Brent had a 6th in race 1, Tom had a 6th in race 2, and I think if I'm looking at it, we had 2-3-5 race 1 and 1-2-5 race 2. So points wise really doesn't get any better than that. I mean, obviously, it can be slightly better, but you know what I mean? It's pretty amazing how good, actually, both Brent and Tom adapted to this. Because I know that Tom was a little bit kind of out of sorts maybe 2 days ago, thinking he was a bit off the pace. But Brent is, I don't know, we think he's just kind of content to have his iRating real low and just pretend that he's not this real fast driver. But, he keeps coming up. He is very, very good. He's much better than he thinks he is. And I think those guys need a huge shout out, because this is really, really difficult combination. And to pick up top 5s, top 6s was really, really cool to see.
Well, Christian, speaking of shout outs, outside of your teammates there, and I love the camaraderie you guys have, but anybody else you want to shout out to?
Yeah. I'd actually like to give a shout out to both Andrew and Travis, because they made that race really, really fun for all of us. And, we're in a battle with them both races, and it was clean the whole time. Any contacts that happened were totally incidental. They were not like, nobody was trying to bump each other out of the way, that kind of thing. There's no crazy dive bombs. It was just really, really good racing. So thank you to those guys. It's always fun to run against them. And to you guys for broadcast as well. I know this one is actually quite a long event. We were talking about it for Europe. It was strangely long, considering the races aren't, they don't look that long, 46 laps, but I know it's a bit of an endurance. So good job on the broadcast. And yeah, thank you to Mike for running the league. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Well, thank you. That was Christian Schallener, your 2nd place finisher. And now, Adam, I believe you have caught up with our 3rd place finisher, Andrew Waring.
Yeah, Andrew, from elation in the first race to heartbreak in this second one. I mean, talk to me about your feelings as you came across the line there. That had to hurt.
I mean, yeah, it sucks, but I can't be too disappointed. We put together this idea of saving fuel 2 hours before the event, trying to figure it out. To figure out how to let off and where to do that. And I think I did a pretty good job in race 1 just because I was out in front, but in race 2, trying to keep up with Nick. It's funny because it's not an issue to keep up. It's just how to keep up with also saving the fuel it's hard to figure that out. And I couldn't figure it out in race 2 as well, as they could, obviously.
And so not only are you trying to keep up with Nick, but also keeping Christian behind you. I mean, he did give a couple of good looks at you, but was it just a matter of, getting Ricardo Corner right and making sure that he didn't have a move into Coca-Cola?
Pretty much. I mean, I felt like I could cover them pretty good because I was getting really good traction out of the corners. And, even to be fair, I've raced Nick pretty easy into the first corner because I'm not sure really who he is. I haven't raced him obviously that much, but he did a good job hanging around the outside. I didn't expect him to do that. I pretty much knew my race was going to be compromised from there because I was pushing for the first 3 laps and I could get him, but I just saw the fuel consumption. I said, there's no way I'll be able to make this up. And I had to save for pretty much the whole rest of the race. So could never attack, could only defend. And there was a moment where I thought about letting Christian go attack him, but Christian and Nick are not, they're not smart drivers for a reason. They would have easily just probably worked together and pulled away from me because they're obviously, experienced enough to realize I was struggling with that. So I just had to keep Christian behind me.
Well, you managed to do that quite effectively right up until the last 100 feet of the race. But, speaking of, challenging races, next round we head with the Lotus 79 over to an oval, the Legacy Phoenix. What are your thoughts heading into that round?
Pretty much. I mean, this is like my third year in the majors now, and still every round is like the first time driving a car at a track like that. So, I mean, it's a ground effect car. So, I mean, it should be pretty good. There shouldn't be a ton of aero wash. And, I mean, it's a pretty banked corner, right? I think it's going to be a good race. Tight race for sure. 200 laps is going to go by really quick if there's no cautions, that's for sure. But, the Mega guys are going to be quick there. They've been clearly the best team so far this year with, I think, all 4 of their drivers finishing in the top 6 this round. It was just so impressive to see them work together as a team and stuff. So, hats off to all of them.
Well, as you're giving hats off to their team, anyone you want to give a thank you and shout out to finishing third today?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have our sponsors, like I mentioned in the first race, but mainly actually Kevin Hill on our team. He spent a lot of hours developing this setup, and it's unfortunate. Again, we had to switch to this strategy. We clearly need to do a better job researching that, because this threw a lot of our guys off, and we should have. I feel like the whole team could have been up here fighting with Mega. So.
Well, congratulations on the third place in the second race, and a special congratulations for your win in the first race. And thanks for talking to us, Andrew.
Yeah, no problem. And just also, just really quickly, good job to Nick and Christian. They did a mega job, and it was fun, clean supercar racing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for talking to us, Andrew, and we'll see you next round.
Bye.
That was Andrew Waring, who finished third in the second race and first in the first race. Back to you, Joe.
Yeah, when a first and a third is not the optimal day, then you know that you're on to something. But that's going to wrap us up with a big thank you to our sponsor. Once again, the Majors Garage. Make sure and click the link in the description below and use our discount code MajorsGSRC to get 10% off. And also check out, while you're down there, our charity, Deaf Australia, and that is simply deafaustralia.org.au. Also, big thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, DJ, Ryan, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because, as we said, the next race is the Jimmy Bryan 200, the Lotus 79 at Classic Phoenix. That'll be Sunday, April 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.